Whatever.
Serious withdrawals when this is over.
Thank you.
Tricia, let's start calling anybody who's not here, anybody who's missing.
Watch now, rise leaders, manifesting. Oh.
Where is everybody?
I'm here.
Nikki's in Colorado.
Nikki's right there.
I mean, Jesse is in Colorado.
Hi.
Jesse is in Colorado.
Michelle, was Jesse excused?
Jesse was not excused, Sergeant.
She lives in Colorado.
She'll be on video?
But did she get excused from the coaches or somebody?
No, sir.
She doesn't live in California. She's watching on video.
She asked me to take notes for her.
No, that's,
Okay.
she didn't talk to me.
Okay. She might have cleared it with me and I
Oh.
forgot, I'm just checking.
Fair with you, Michelle?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
So, is somebody texting Elisa, or do you want?
You can if you're ready. I'm
Okay. I will.
So Tricia, I need you and Michelle to, as quick as possible, contact anybody that's not here and see if they're on their way. Okay?
Are you guys gonna? There's only one, should be in contact. All right.
I'm sorry, say that again, Michelle? He should be what? I can't hear you.
There is only one missing. And they're being contacted.
Okay, and you're calling them? Okay, good.
Where's Zen go?
So let me tell you about an interesting principle around the awakening. When people commit to something like the awakening, and it's not just the awakening, it's any kind of experiential workshop that goes below the surface. The moment they make the commitment, they start to go through a process, and subconsciously, it brings up all kinds of interesting things from their subconscious. And I think of it as a slingshot, like the slingshot gets pulled back and gets pulled back and gets pulled back and gets pulled back. Energetically, when the slingshot lets go is on the first morning, not the first night, the first morning of the awakening Saturday morning. You know, Saturday morning, they're gonna have you go in the boardroom and do some stuff with you, and then they'll bring you in this room. When you come into this room, that's when the slingshot lets go. And it... So within the first 10 minutes of the awakening, it's interesting to watch the space in the room go through the roof. Part of that is why the awakening is such a miraculous event, is because of that whole process. And it's not just the participants that are going through it. All of the assistants are also going through a version of that, because it's not the same, but it's very similar. So the first page of the pre-course packet talks about the roller coaster ride. That once you sign up for the awakening, the roller coaster ride begins, and the closer it gets to the actual event, the more the roller coaster can go up and down. Now, a few rare exceptions don't really notice much. They kind of breeze through it, you know what I mean? For the most part, most of the assistants and most of the participants, their lives are like all over the map. You know what I mean? It's like, and some people are unwittingly clever about creating some really outlandish circumstances. All of that is actually good news. It's part of why once the awakening happens, it's such a miracle. Okay? But both the participants and the assistants are going to learn something. And most of what you're going to learn isn't going to really be conscious. It's going to be subconscious. It'll affect you on all levels. But a big part of what you're going to be learning while you're up at the awakening is that when we're in our spirit, in our soul, in our heart, and we're in our being, we're doing what works. And when we're in that place, we do what works, and it doesn't matter what obstacles or barriers try to stop us. When you're trained as a very young child to let Wilbur stop you, then typically the more wounded you are, the more anything Wilbur says or does can stop you. And at some point, people begin to notice that life ain't going the way they want it to go, and they begin to be a little bit conscious of the fact that they really keep being stopped by life. And that doesn't work. Things don't fit my picture, so, I wimp out, or I rip somebody's face off, or I throw in the towel, I collapse, I quit, whatever. So when we do Stance of a Warrior, like in the relationships course, you'll notice that I'll tell them how to do it, stand like a warrior, however, right? Then I'll say for a lot of you, even standing at 100% will not be easy for you. And the same Wilbur that you allow to stop you is the same Wilbur that comes up in your money, in your love life, right? Same stuff. When people break agreements and then they justify it, they're not usually conscious of the fact that they use the same half dozen justifications for every broken agreement in their life. Every one.
Will you say that again? When we are using the same,
When people break their agreements in life,
okay.
Little agreements, big agreements, they don't really get conscious of the fact that when they go to justify their broken agreements, well, it's no big deal, whatever. They use the same half dozen justifications every single time. So, for a warm-up, I'm going to do Stance of a Warrior tonight. And do me a favor, Tricia, while they're doing Stance of a Warrior, let's take out all the empty chairs. Certainly the back row and any of them on the edges, these guys over here, okay? So everybody just stand up for a moment, take everything off your lap, stand up. So it is possible that something in the last day or two didn't fit your pictures. That happens fairly often. But when you do Stance of a Warrior, you're basically saying to your system, to your physiology, to your consciousness, that no matter what is going on in my life, I can do what works. I don't have to be stopped by the doubts and the fears. Okay? So, get in your stance. When I say go, everybody all at once. 1, 2, 3, go. Excellent. Have a seat.
I felt good.
Let's see if we can sit everybody in the first 2 rows. And then take the empty chairs out.
Thank you, Gary, that felt good.
Say that again?
Thank you, Gary, that felt good.
Yeah, you
You did
betcha.
that well.
Nikki?
So just to reiterate, what you were saying when you said, when you're living from spirit, you do what works. When things show up as obstacles, but you're living from that space, you aren't going to let anything stop you.
Yeah,
I feel that.
yeah,
It feels very different.
yeah, good job, good job. So now, hold on a second, guys, wait for a moment. I'm gonna have you sit down and so I can just do this with you, and then we'll continue with the chairs. I really appreciate your help. Just take about 30 seconds, a moment of silence, and set your intention that all of your ancestors and descendants will have direct access to any value that you experience tonight. Okay, thank you. Have I told you guys the story? I don't want to repeat it if I've already told you about the storm, when the biggest storm came, the snowstorm? No? Okay. So we're up past Park City, somewhere way up in the mountains, and it's kind of during the winter where we have to use snowmobiles to get in and that kind of thing, right? And we suddenly get word that the biggest snowstorm, is gonna hit us. And we realize that if it hits us, the way the news is saying it's gonna hit us, that none of our assistants will get out, or none of the new assistants will get in, you know what I mean? Like, we'll be stuck for a while, right? It could be devastating for the awakening. And so we all decided that all we had left to do was to pray. So we prayed. And next morning, everything looked like it was fine. And then somebody turned on the TV to see the news. It turned out the snowstorm had gone exactly around us.
Wow.
Exactly. Now, I'm gonna teach you something new. Well, it's ancient, but I don't think I've shared it with you guys before, quite the same way. So, if you wanna manifest something, feel it. If you wanna manifest something, feel it. Gonna give you 3 practical steps for how to do that. Tricia, do me a favor. Just get word to Lori that if she can do without Zen, I would really like her to be in here. And as soon as she can be done with Ally, I'd like them both in here.
Can I text that to Lori?
No, just go and knock and tell them I asked you to interrupt. So here's 3 steps for manifestation. Matter of fact, some of you might remember this is what I taught you right before you did the homecoming last year. Number 1, visualize what you want or how you want to be. So before the homecoming, when they're all nervous, friends and family are waiting for them and they're nervous. And I say, visualize how you want to be during your homecoming. How do you want to be when you're acknowledging your friends and whoever? You know what I mean? Then I said, now, feel how deeply you want either that thing or you want to be that way. How deeply do you want that? And then feel it, how it feels if you got that thing. As if you already have it. And it's important that when you're feeling, it's important because some people get stuck by thinking that they're supposed to, like, really feel it, and they start pushing it. And it's not about pushing anything. It's not about, making it happen. You just simply allow yourself to feel, and then you notice what's there.
Will you repeat the third one?
Well, I'm only on the second one. Feel how deeply you want that thing and how it feels to have it. That's number 2. The third step is, from the depth of that feeling, commit. From the depth of that feeling, commit or set your intention. I have friends who I'm really impressed with their ability to manifest. The other day when we did the fundraiser with Ron and all those great speakers, that was unbelievable day. There was so much incredible information in one day, it blew my mind. And afterwards, Sonia and I went out and had a bite, visited, and she was telling me this great story about how she was going to move out after her divorce, and she didn't want to pay rent, and she wanted to live in a mansion, so she just did what I'm telling you right now. And so she manifested exactly that. Living in a mansion, not paying rent, you know what I'm saying? And when I asked her, I said, I'm really impressed with your ability to manifest. How do you think you did that? And she said, if you want to manifest it, you need to feel it. Philip?
So number 3, from the depth of that feeling, commit, set your intention. Is what I'm committing to is doing my part, doing what I need to do to help make that happen?
No. No, you're not anywhere near doing this yet.
What am I committing to then?
Well, tell me what you want. Give me an example.
I want $1 million.
Good. So you feel, how would it feel to have $1 million? Like it's already happened, right? And then you say, okay, I set my intention that I will manifest $1 million. How badly do I want it? Oh, I want it really, 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 really bad. From the depth of that feeling of how much I want it, I set my intention. Now, out of that intention, then will come strategies, brainstorming. Like in manifesting money, I have them do the visualization twice a day. Put the $1 million or whatever on the table, and then they come up with strategies out of that intention. They would come up with entirely different strategies if they just sat there and tried to brainstorm. When you do the visualization and you really imagine that something's on the table that you really want, then you have different strategies show up. You will come up with all kinds of different strategies once you have a really solid, deep intention. Does that make sense? Thank you.
So I'm committing to manifesting exactly what
Yeah,
I'm feeling.
right.
Okay.
Right, that's right. Acknowledge. Okay, somebody over here has a hand up. Elisa?
I just got it that that's why wantingness is such a big gift,
Yeah,
because it's like you want it so badly, and that's when the feelings
Yeah.
become attached to it, and that's when you can
that's right.
commit.
That's right. That's right. Acknowledge. Okay, now I want you to take your notes out and your memory from the last meeting, and I want to do a brainstorm review so we can remind ourselves. First of all, share with me, how does space or group energy work?
Can you repeat that, Gary?
Take your notes out and your memory out, and somebody share with me, how does space or energy work? Emily?
By creating subconscious safety.
Yes. What else? Anything else? Okay, somebody else? Let's acknowledge Emily. Okay, somebody else?
It creates a vibration,
Yeah,
vibration in the room, which.
yeah. Okay, let me give you guys a hint. Last time I talked about how the awakening is unique because it creates a vortex of energy. How does it create a vortex of energy? Philip?
You mean, how do we help it become creative?
Yes.
By playing and relaxing at 100%.
Yeah? Good. Elisa?
It has to do with group consciousness.
Yeah? Remember I drew all the circles on the board? What happens?
The energy comes through and you.
Yes. The energy goes through the
great.
space person, then goes to the assistants, then goes to the facilitator and does this figure 8 thing, right? What happens if she's broken an agreement and she's triggered because she's pissed off at so-and-so, they got an ego battle going on? You know what I mean? What happens if most of the assistants, their energy isn't clear?
Space is shut.
Messes up.
Very
Right.
little space coming into the room. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
believe me, I've seen some awakenings that were off the charts. And I've seen some awakenings, the very second awakening I ever did. You know how I learned this? Because the group, I'm using the same manual I used in the first awakening. It worked like a charm. I'm doing it for the second awakening, and the group is like death warmed over. Trying to get them to participate and get into it is like pulling teeth. It's like, what the, you know? And I couldn't figure it out. I kept doing it, you know. And then I looked at the assistants and I noticed they looked like death warmed over. And I wondered, is there any relationship between the assistants and the participants? So I gave the participants a break, said, we're gonna have a long break. Then I got the assistants, and slowly but surely, I went, well, she really pissed me off, you know. You know. And pretty soon, they got it all out. So I let them go back, I brought the participants in, I swear it was like somebody had broke a dam. All kinds of participating, it was amazing. It was like profound revelation for me. The relationship, and just so you guys know, that's the kind of effect you have on every being in the universe. Not just the awakening. And not just humans, not just the planet, every being in the universe. The reason why a 16th century poet said that the day that humans end hunger on the planet will be the biggest spiritual explosion the world has ever seen, because right now you are being affected by the people dying of hunger.
So when you said that we were affecting other people like that, so when we're open, when we're clear, we are a vessel for energy for other people who are not familiar with it? Is that part of the magnetizing effect that we,
We're always
Interesting.
responsible for energy, which is what energy's coming out, right?
If I took 3 people in an auto accident and 3 cars bump into each other, and I got to work with all 3 of them and get to know their psychology, and you'll see this at the Awakening, you will find out that those 3 people, their psychological issues fit like a glove. Fit like a glove. When I discovered this, I couldn't figure it out. Like, how do you, the best supercomputers could not bring those 3 people together. How does that happen? And then I discovered it's about vibration. It's like when John Douglas told me about his trauma when he was a child, about how he let, his dad was a rageaholic, and his dad had a farm, and if you let the cows out of the barn, you know, they can eat themselves unless somebody's managing them, and they can eat themselves to death, literally, okay? So, the cows get out of the barn, John goes to his dad, hey Dad, you know, and his father, what the, I told you not to bother me, and so John's like, okay, let the cows die, right? Well, the cows die. Dad loses the farm, right? And by the way, he's given me permission to share this story with you. So I said, John, how big is your company? About 30 people. I said, great. All of the managers and supervisors have issues, anger issues, and rage issues. And he goes, yeah, they yell at the guy when he comes to fix the air conditioning. You know what I mean? And I said, all the people in that company have either been physically abused or sexually abused. And he didn't believe me. He started doing some informal research. Sure enough, everybody. Now, how did I know that? Vibration. Where you work is no accident. The people who pop into your life are no accident. It's all done by vibration. Okay, now tell me, brainstorm with me, what are the 3 parts, the 3 key ingredients for the game of service? Bonnie.
Choose to play the game,
Yep, choose to play the game.
6 conditions of workability,
By the 6 conditions of workability.
and its unique opportunity, how you choose to get off it.
Yes, you get an opportunity to heal and reprogram the barriers that have always stopped you. Great, terrific. Okay, who can tell me? I just want to mention this before I go on. If you're an assistant at the Awakening, your job is to create space for your boss, so they can create space for their boss, all the way up to Gary or the facilitator, so the facilitator can create more space for the participants. Does that make sense? Okay, who can tell me how do you recognize and disappear and reprogram the here's a better question. Let's start with this. Whether you're a participant or an assistant, what old ways do you really want significant movement on? Like, if the genie's going to disappear or dissolve any old ways of yours, you know, what do you want the genie to disappear that gets in your way of doing what works? Raise your hand, I'll call on you. I want to hear some examples.
There are no guests. I'm following Emily. Better late than never.
Excellent. Actually, Melissa's a guest, but she's fine with it. She knows what crazy fools we are.
You know me, Gary.
I want to hear what, if the genie's going to disappear any old ways, what old ways you want him to disappear? Okay, Nikki?
Commitment issues in everything.
Commitment issues. Is that what stops you from doing what works? So, when you can commit, you can do what works, but when you're not committed, you keep bumping into stuff that gets you off track. Excellent. Way to go. Acknowledge. Okay, Nico?
Frustration that wrenches my gut and being. My thoughts too. And a combination.
Frustration.
Everything. Yeah.
Mhm. It sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, it sounds like kind of a consistent bombardment of thoughts and feelings that irritate you.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay,
Consistent
excellent.
bombardment, yes.
Good. Okay, acknowledge. Somebody else? Okay, Jeff?
Difficult people at work
Difficult people, what?
that are in the workplace.
Well, that's them. I mean, what's an old way of yours, like for example, when they do their nonsense, what do you do or not do that stops you from doing what works?
Probably either avoidance or not creating boundaries.
So you either avoid a situation or you don't draw boundaries. Excellent, excellent. Some acknowledge. Somebody else, Bonnie?
Beating myself up and playing small.
Right on the money. Beating myself up and playing small. Excellent. Acknowledge. Mary?
Self-doubt.
Self-doubt. Excellent. Acknowledge. Sarah?
Being mousy and selling out.
Beautiful. Acknowledge. Somebody else, Kendra?
Fearing mistakes so that I hide from challenges.
Yes. Fearing mistakes, so I hide from challenges. Beautiful. Acknowledge. Somebody else. Okay, Nikki?
Creating dramatic shitstorms.
Yeah. Creating dramatic shitstorms. It's great. Very popular. Acknowledge. Anybody else? Okay, Phil?
Playing it safe, and not being vulnerable.
Playing it safe and not being vulnerable. Excellent. Acknowledge. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Shelley?
Procrastination and hiding out.
Beautiful. Procrastination and hiding out. Acknowledge. Okay?
Overwhelm.
Overwhelm. Excellent. Acknowledge. So now here's the question. How do you recognize and disappear and reprogram those barriers you just named? Under the 3 conditions of workability, by voluntarily choosing to play under the 6 conditions of workability, then when you're trying to do what works, your barriers are going to come to the surface. The things you just mentioned are going to come to the surface. And what you do to heal and reprogram is you choose to get off it and shelve Wilbur to do what works. You choose to get off it, to shelve Wilbur, and do what works. You get the job done.
Yep.
You operate beyond Wilbur. You have the opportunity to recognize what always stops you in life and choose not to let it stop you. You know, part of
that last sentence one more time?
yeah. You have the opportunity to recognize what always stops you in life, and you choose not to let it stop you. You know, one thing I'm very clear about, when I created The Awakening, I really honestly didn't know this. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it for a few years, what a privilege it is to be in an environment where I don't get to have a mind. You know, while I'm up at The Awakening, like all of you, like all human beings, things will not fit my pictures. I'll get triggered, I'll get upset, I'll want to rip somebody's face off, you know what I mean? Just, it's life, right? But while I'm up there, I don't get to. I get to be my best self. I get to serve. I get to be magnificent. for a few precious days, I don't get to have a Wilbur. It doesn't get to stop me. You know, if you're an assistant and you're up there, you know, you all understand that you create whatever. You create enthusiasm, you create disgust, you create barking like a dog, you create whatever, right? Well, you can create satisfaction under all conditions, under all circumstances. So if you're an assistant and I come up and say, "How you doing, Phil?"
Great.
If he says, see, it's fine for him to say, "Honestly, Gary, right now, I'm really shitty. And I'm satisfied. I'm really pissed off, and I'm creating satisfaction." There's times when I spend, the last couple of hours building up the space, and it's miraculous, and then I go, okay, let's go watch that video, and something happens, and within a matter of 60 seconds, I lose 2 hours of space because of some stupid little glitch on the video camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And believe me, I'd like to just punch someone's lights out. You know what I mean? But thank God I don't get to. Because I'm satisfied. Right?
Right.
I am creating satisfaction. That's what I want to hear from the assistants.
So why can't we just do that every day? Is there something magical about it?
Have you remember when the
What
breaks
a
down?
great question! The truth is, you can do it every day, and I feel blessed and honored that I got to choose this role and they gave it to me, because it has, every year, this principle has accelerated in my life. I'm a lot better now at dealing with crisis and circumstance and whatever in a way that I keep creating satisfaction. I don't even remember the last time I let it stop me from doing what works. You see what I'm saying? Okay, but the thing that's special about the awakening, there is not a vortex of energy like we have at the awakening every day. Because you've been through the awakening, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like when you're up there in heaven on earth and you're flying, I can't believe it's so great. When you're flying, you know what I mean? That's why the first time people assist, they're blown away. They come up to me and go, "I thought I was just going to be helping out. I'm getting more out of this awakening than my own awakening." Because they hooked up their dream to the vortex of energy. And let me tell you, Phil, over the years, since I get how this works now, when the awakening happens, I can tell you right now, I'm no dummy. I'm going to hook up my current dreams to this vortex of energy, and I can't wait for the day when we're having an awakening once a month, because honestly, I would never come down.
Yeah. Let's do that, Gary.
Have I ever told you about the awakening beings that, did I say that?
The ones that were coming to see
Yeah.
if it was gonna go on, if they were gonna do it up there.
It was for the light.
Basically,
For the light
when I was younger, I thought the awakening was like a being that would step into me. Because whenever it happened, usually before the awakening, somewhere between a few days and like 3 weeks out, it's like my perception would change. I would see everything from a higher perspective. And I loved it. And one day, Laura was with me, and she happened to see it when it happened. And she said, Gary, it's not a being and it doesn't step into you. It's closest I can come describing it is it's a group consciousness. And they don't step into you, they surround you. Well, this happened about a week ago when I was about to fall asleep, and I could tell. Hey, guys, good to see you again, right? Okay. Well, I love this perspective because I'm not the same person. And it will be obvious to you during the awakening that I'm not the same Gary that you typically bump into. You know what I mean? Like I get to be from a higher perspective, right? An excellent question. Thank you. Another one.
So my follow-up question, I mean, maybe it sounds silly, but it seems perfectly logical. Why don't we just create that vortex of energy every day?
If there's a way to do it, I would love to do it. I haven't figured out yet how to do it without something like the awakening. In other words, without training the assistants. You know what I mean? Without getting you guys in a certain space, without having somebody there who doesn't even let you go into the room where the awakening is until you are clear. You see what I'm saying? I honestly believe, Phil, that there's gonna the day is gonna come when, you know, we stand in circles of 12, blue, white, light, 13 actually, somebody in the middle, And I believe that part of that process is gonna be us getting much more masterful at forgiveness. You have to understand that when you're assisting at the awakening, your space is probably going to be so clean and so clear that you'll be surprised. It's kind of like when you were a participant in the awakening, you were just shocked as heck that you were so able to forgive people. Okay, do me a favor. Get a partner and share with your partner any thoughts or feelings about what I've been teaching you. Go.
I'm not, I'm reporting a virgin.
So like the duality. Like when he says satisfying, like what comes up for you, wow. That's hard to because like I think of us like a battery. Like humans are like batteries, so like there's the positive, there's the negative here. And so if you have a negative thought, most humans will just stay at the negative or go to the negative, another negative thought. But I learned with science that the battery works with alternating current. So it goes positive, negative, positive.
I have already, I already got it.
It's toxic energy. And so if I have a negative thought, it's positive, like negative, so it keeps going on. So I get more energetic and then I just rise up, you know? It's kind of like, it's cool.
Bring it in here, you're very careful.
Understanding. And so I feel like if I have negative, positive, doesn't mean I'm not another negative.
Can't be near this big pillow.
It does.
Big pillow.
You know, we're doing it at work and it's like,
Only
we're
for
exhausted. You know what I mean? So it's okay to always like
Now
do
what
it
are
at
you
work
leaving
because
for?
it's like when you're coming out, you have gravity.
Now you're leaving too.
And we're gonna get to the top and you get.
Just give me one of those pillows. This pillow is too goofy. If you give me one of those pillows.
So it's kinda like, when someone says to me, you know, Melissa, how are you doing today? I'm like, I'm wonderful.
I need it on my back, not on my back.
Like, that's just, like, you know what I mean? Because if I feel like I tell you I'm really good, I'm like, it's not the whole deal. Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
That other pillow was too poofy.
Okay, wrap it up.
Right? Exactly, dude.
Okay, I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna have you remind me what the 6 conditions of workability are, and then I'm gonna take one short share about how you've applied that particular condition in your life, and then I'll have you pair up and share with each other where you think you've applied that anywhere in your life, okay? So, what's the first one? Jeff?
Open communication.
Yep, which is about, you know, people say, oh, I know what communication is, no problem. And the question is, are you willing to openly communicate about anything?
Kinda.
Anything?
Yes.
Okay, so one short share from somebody who feels like they have an example of how they applied that in their life. Okay, Emily?
Well, I'm a pretty open communicator in general, so I would say, especially with my children, a very open communication about things like sex and drugs and stuff like that.
Excellent.
That seems to be
Thank you.
working well.
Acknowledge. Okay, everybody get a partner. Share with your partner where you feel like you have triumphed with open communication. Just one example with each other, back and forth, go.
Okay, well, I'm still waiting for some.
Okay, so I need.
Thank you, Emily. You're amazing. I love you.
We don't wanna move.
And I was like, this is where I can do.
So I'm really good at pretty quick communication.
And I can, this was open May 1st on Saturday, and I can't. It's a job that, I was going to take me all through, and it was, anyway, long story short, I said, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna have like money for rent. So I felt really vulnerable and scared, and I'm like, I really want to do this place, the energy's right, this guy is amazing, the price is right, everything's great. And I was gonna play small and play with fear, and like I always do. And so I'm like, no, Melissa, you're gonna be vulnerable, and you're gonna open the communication. You're gonna tell Wayne the situation, not really ask for a specific thing, just say, Wayne,
So I think it's
sorry,
on Friday night, Saturday all day here, and
this is my situation, this is what happened.
yeah, like Gary always says that.
He's like, if you can just me a little bit more time. And he told me I could move in on the 1st without giving him the $500.
That just goes to self.
Isn't that amazing?
I did that when I realized.
And I just made myself vulnerable and just like the way she was, you know? I didn't know where I was gonna go. And I was like shaking the whole time. I'm like, you know, but it was just like,
No, I almost sleep like an hour.
Hey, Tricia?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Emily, thank you. I'm following you really late, but I'm following you.
Okay, next condition of workability. Next condition of workability, Kendra.
Acting with integrity.
Acting with integrity. And what does that mean?
It's don't put up with or succumb, be true to yourself and not breaking your agreements.
Yep. Good. And what did I say last time was unacceptable under that condition? Phil?
Deciding on the spur of the moment that your inner child doesn't wanna play.
Yes. Yes. In other words, you've already chosen in, so your inner child has already chosen in. Good, thank you. Okay, I'll take a share as to somebody who feels like they've demonstrated that in their own life. Okay, Nikki?
Mine's pretty silly. But my example was going to see a movie with Zach. I knew where I wanted to sit while he was getting popcorn, and I knew he wouldn't like it, but I sat there anyways, cause that's where I wanted to sit. And he didn't like it, and he wanted me to move, and I said, you can sit wherever you want, but this is where I wanna sit.
Yeah,
And so he sat in the row behind me,
yeah,
and we were both fine, but I stayed true to myself,
Yeah.
because that's where I wanted to sit.
yeah.
And we still got to see the movie.
That's great. That's great. Way to go, acknowledge. I remember one time I called a friend of mine, Adrian, up, and I said, hey, you wanna go see, that movie? And he goes, oh, I already saw it. I said, is there anything else you wanna see? I said, well, I guess I'd be okay with this. He goes, okay, let's go to that, you know? Then about a minute later, he called me back, he goes, you sold out, didn't you? I said, yeah. So we decided to go to 2 different movies, you know?
Nice, yeah.
Good job, acknowledged. Okay, everybody, get a partner and share where you feel like you've done good with acting on integrity. Go.
I'm afraid if I say something to my mind, then I'm laughing at it and not thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like nothing to my mind, so like if I say to myself, oh, nothing's to my mind, like I'm just fixated on that, like my mind.
You're doing really good.
So if I say to myself,
With your integrity late. Yes.
okay, this is what's coming out for me. So when I was 15, my mom, she has a mental illness, and I would have to walk around with eggshells, so I didn't set her off. And so I went to counseling, and I remember sitting there and I just spoke my truth to her, not me, just of how she made me feel all those years. And what I was really dealing with, and how hard it was for her to deal with her. And I didn't tell her for so long because I was afraid it would hurt her or upset her. And I did. She got so mad. She got angry. But in that moment, I felt true to myself. And so,
Vulnerability.
and I just felt like I was just standing in my own power and my integrity. I feel like I was holding integrity. Maybe I'm always
Okay. Okay, next, conditional workability. Shelley,
Willing to operate beyond your considerations.
beautiful, okay? Who has a good example of that? The one I used last time is about the guy who needed the film, okay? Elisa,
I received a compliment from my daughter's out-of-state therapist that I'm the most dedicated parent she's encountered in her 30-year practice. Cause like I would travel and get donations on the way.
yeah,
And like everyone in her local area canceled that when there was like floods and fires, and I'm there. Oh, you just had done work done? Guess what? I'm in town. You're still gonna see me.
beautiful, good example, acknowledge.
Thank you.
Okay, get a partner, share with your partner. By the way, guys, for those of you that are in 3s, it would actually work better for you guys to get a partner so you can do it in 2s. That way you have more room to share with each other, okay? Okay, go ahead, get a partner, share with your success with that, go.
We're just physically lazy. We're just physically lazy. Okay.
function of intention,
I'll just do
and
it.
don't have overstop you, okay?
Workshops.
Going back into the trees that Timmy was pretty good. I still did it, like facing the tree, like the trees that took me out, that was bigger. I don't know if
And I
that counts or
kept
not,
saying,
but
these considerations, I feel like I'm willing to work on them, there was like a bunch of stuff that happened that ended up getting in the perfect amount format by that day. And I ended up paying like half for the program and then a couple of them stayed through.
that's a consideration.
So willing to operate beyond the considerations.
Okay, so.
Okay. What's the next one? Number 4.
Commitment to results, not almost.
Yes, commitment to results. So, if you committed to having a verbal conversation with somebody and you keep playing phone tag and it's gotta be by a certain day, what do?
Break into their house and stalk them,
right.
Harry.
Thank you, Emily, I love you, you're amazing, you're beautiful.
That totally doesn't count. I'm gonna talk anyways, so there.
Oh, Mary Lou.
Who's got a good example of commitment to results in their personal life?
We have
Mine's
commitment
not
issues,
really
Gary.
good, but I finally got there. I mean, I got there,
I didn't hear the first part of that.
well, I did my letter,
That's right,
okay?
Yeah.
All right,
that's right.
so that's a commitment to results,
That is,
all right?
that's right. The letter to your son,
To my letter to my son.
to clean it,
Okay.
clean up the mess. Way
Right.
to go. Good
Okay.
job. Acknowledge. Okay, get a partnership with your partner where you see that in your life. Go.
Okay, so what is it?
So one that comes out is just being determined.
Actual results in freaking weekend.
The best thing
that day.
Yay!
Favorite pair of keys,
I just
flew out of
did
the
it.
house.
Okay, yay.
I don't want anything to get in the way of
So that was an actual result.
and I should give it a chance to try to sign showing it for whoever got the very last. So, I'm constantly trying to start.
The whole time I was walking around, I kept visualizing
I
the
am
calling,
full of
it's so
tears.
frustrating, like,
You have
and,
going through all this music and I'll be
Well,
crying and
That's what Ray was doing today.
all the favorite kids are helping us inform, so it's, actually how it's all around the apartment building, it's like we're on the other side, but the lady's like, oh, I found a meeting line on my son.
Are they wanna tell us or they just
Like, even in that moment, like, I told Irving and them, like, go
Yeah.
grab those doors, and they didn't want to, say, fine, I'm gonna tell you, I would try to out there, and she's like, what happened? I had my first.
So that was.
It's, when we first got there, it was around 7:30.
That means a lot.
Right, like, or I really like
Do this and then stuff will come up and.
Okay. What's number 5?
alignment of purpose.
Yes. What does that mean?
Everyone focuses on a goal moving forward, supporting the supervisor's decisions even if you disagree.
That's right. Like Captain Picard. And I talked about Einstein. I'm sorry, not Einstein. Eisenhower during World War II.
And then we played the Apollo 13, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
I'm committed to my stretch and the support it is giving me, even though I don't wanna do it.
Thank you, Emily, I love you, you're the greatest, you're so beautiful!
Good job. I called on you just so I could hear them talk.
I know. We haven't heard it forever. I've been in like
I love it.
totally withdrawals.
Aw.
I was thinking about you today.
Does anybody have a good example of where they did that in your life? Like you supported your boss even though you disagreed with him? Or you were part of a team where you actually, were really all on the same page? Kendra?
I had a coworker who we were working on a process, so it was, a lot of people didn't wanna follow along because they weren't technically in charge.
Yeah.
And, we still, I still followed their process even though it wasn't the most efficient process.
Yeah.
Because I knew that it would completely fall apart if we all just tried to each do our own thing.
Right.
So even the indirect route ended up mostly successful because
Yeah.
everybody agreed to it.
Way to go. That's a good example. Acknowledge.
Even if you knew better.
Okay, pair up with somebody and talk about where you can see that in your life. Go.
For me,
Go
it was
meet
my
Ben.
entire
Go.
college softball.
Okay.
Really
Really like what it was that you moved, okay. So, oh my gosh.
I'm in the middle.
And so I went to your page and just what do you want me to do? And so I just sat on it yesterday, I did an call and she had like this amazing.
Okay, wrap it up.
An item video.
Yeah, but it's not that one, it's the second scene. Second scene. There's like several scenes on that video. I want to play 2 and 3. Okay. And what is the 6th condition of conditions of workability? Okay, Phil?
Honor my agreements.
To commitment to keeping your agreements means basically doing what you said you would do regardless of any concerns or considerations. Saying I sold out is not legitimate. It's great. Okay, Phil, you got an example?
What, I'm trying to figure out how that's really different than number 3 and 4.
Well, oftentimes there's no difference, but sometimes there is. Like, a lot of times I make a commitment and there's not any kind of big result attached to it. I just keep a commitment. In that way, they could be the same, but not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like that. Good. Acknowledge. Nikki?
It's almost as if 1 through 5 are facets of number 6. Right?
Yeah.
Cause 6 is the ultimatum.
Yeah.
But 1 through 5 are the different layers of number 6.
Actually, if you look at it really closely, you know the story about the mice and the elephant? Where they're blind mice, and they're trying to describe what the elephant is like. One says an elephant is like a tree trunk, and one takes his tail and it's like a rope, you know what I mean? And they all describe it differently, but they're describing the same animal. Well, this is very much the same way. That this is what human beings are like when Wilbur isn't stopping them. What's it like when you're in your heart and soul? This is it. These 6 conditions are just a way of describing the height of functionality. Good. Okay. Somebody have an example of where they did that? Okay.
Today, getting here, I was committed to finishing what I promised at work and also committed to being here on time, but my work is 2 hours away and I left with an hour and a half to get here. I was like, there's 0 chance. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Especially there's always traffic.
Yeah.
And it always takes like 20 minutes longer to get there.
Yeah.
And my work's in the middle of the desert, so I was like, well, I can go as fast as I want out here. So in the middle of the desert, I was just like, I'll make up time here. And then I called my mom and I'm like, I need a miracle to get to work on, like, to get there on time. And the entire way, I never stopped for traffic, and it was the first time that's ever happened.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool.
Way to ask.
I wanna say something about
Way to
that.
intend.
I wanna say something about that. For me, that is another example, like the guy who wanted the film and didn't know how it was gonna happen. It's a part of her setting an intention, but it's also a big part of her personal power.
Yes.
When things like that happen, her personal power made it so that that could happen. Does that make sense? And the more your self-concept, your self-esteem, your confidence, the more that you build your personal power, the more you can make things like that happen. Acknowledge. Okay, get a partner, share with your partner why you've seen this happen in your life. Commitment to keeping agreements. Go. Apollo 13, yeah, the second scene. And we're gonna do 2 and 3.
There's only 3, right?
No, there's 5.
I got 2.
Yeah, I'm just noticing all those agreements. Yeah, me too. Right?
Okay, I have just one example, but it's not like, he's the other. Okay, so it's, I'm in agreement with, Zed. I guess, what his manifestation was. And then, Jonathan was driving here, a breakthrough in the car. And so, I wrote the agreement. I mean, I was actually here at the parking lot, like, you know. So I texted her what happened, and I.
Okay, wrap it up.
It's not like quite what you're saying, but it's just like that. Nice.
So I want you to ask yourself, do you get what a privilege it is that for a brief moment in time, for a few days, you don't get to have a mind? You get to put your upset on the shelf, no matter how upset you are. You get to get the job done, to do what works. And then once you're not on task, then you can go get cleared.
That sounds like bliss.
I do wanna add to that, similar to what I said last time. If you are requested to do something and you do have an upset in that moment, if I am requesting or who was the other person that was there last time? If you're being requested that and you have an issue and I'm requesting, please let me know in that moment that you have an issue, okay?
Thank you.
Not saying that we're gonna resolve the issue right then, not saying you're not gonna do the task, just let me know you have an issue right then.
He needs the information.
Open communication.
It's great. Acknowledge. Okay, get where you can see the video. It comes from Apollo 13 again.
Filters on the limb. We come in for 2 guys for a day and a half. I told the doctor they're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15, you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia. What about the scrubbers on the command module? They take sweat cartridges. The ones on the limb are around. Tell me this isn't a government operation. Yeah, it's just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at. Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic. Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Right.
I was just.
this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Get some coffee going too.
Guess that's the best we can do, Glenn. We're out of time.
In order to enter the atmosphere safely, the crew must aim for a corridor just 2.5 degrees wide. If they're too steep, they'll incinerate in the steadily thickening air. If they're too shallow, they'll ricochet off the atmosphere like a rock skipping off a pond. The reentry corridor is in fact so narrow that if this basketball were the Earth and this softball were the moon, and the two were placed 14 feet apart, the crew would have to hit a target no thicker than this piece of paper.
Apollo 13 Commander Jim Lovell has more time in space, almost 24 days already, than any other man. And I asked him recently if he ever was scared.
Oh, I've had an engine flame out a few times in an aircraft and was kind of curious as to whether it was going to light up again, things of that nature. But they seem to work out.
Is there a specific instance in an airplane emergency when you can recall, Pierce?
Well, I tell you, I remember this one time, I'm in a Banshee at night in combat conditions, so there's no running lights on the carrier. It was a Shangri-La, we were in the Sea of Japan, and my radar had jammed, and my homing signal was gone because somebody in Japan was actually using the same frequency, so it was leading me away from where I was supposed to be. And I'm looking down at a big black ocean, so I flip on my map light, and then suddenly, zap, everything shorts out right there in my cockpit. All my instruments are gone, my lights are gone, and I can't even tell now what my altitude is. I know I'm running out of fuel, so I'm thinking about ditching in the ocean. And I look down there, and then in the darkness, there's this green trail. It's like a long carpet that's just laid out right beneath me, and it was the algae, right? It was that phosphorescent stuff that gets churned up in the wake of a big ship, and it was just leading me home. And now, if my cockpit lights hadn't shorted out, there's no way I'd have ever been able to see that. So, you never know what events are going to transpire.
Lights? Melissa?
I really liked that he said you never know what events are gonna transpire.
Transpire.
Yes, and so everyone always comes to me because I listen. And they say, I don't know how this is gonna happen, and I don't know how that's gonna happen, and I have this situation, and they're in the future, and I'm constantly asking Spirit to help me help them. And God tells me, like, they just don't know what's gonna happen. I've got them. I'm gonna take care of them. Just tell them to be in the moment.
Acknowledge. Okay. I'm gonna teach you, did everybody see, raise your hand if you saw the email that I sent you about the different salts.
Shoot. I knew something was supposed to be doing.
I didn't understand it though.
I understand. Okay. So, I know that some of you aren't familiar with energy work. That's okay, you don't need to, okay? Because of what I talked about earlier, that the participants in the awakening, are subconsciously preparing themselves by creating a lot of energy all over the place, and because all the assistants are affected by that energy, then what you want to know is that what Chantel shared with me is something that's a very, very strong recommendation. Okay? And you don't need to understand how it works in order to use it and do it. Okay? So for example, what you say is, now, you all have this in your email. But if you don't want to look up your email, you can write this down. Because you're gonna say this sentence. I ask that my blank channel, and she's given us 3 of them, intuitive, or healing, or transitional. Like intuitive, you run sodium. Healing, you do magnesium. Transitional, you use lithium. Okay? I ask that my, for example, intuitive channel be fully opened. You have my permission to flush my intuitive channel with sodium. And they will do that. Then you say, okay, then please close my intuitive channel down to a comfortable rate. Just you saying those sentences, it works.
This would have been really helpful today.
Yeah.
You have my permission to flush my system with blank, then what?
Yeah, so like for the intuitive channel, you use sodium. For the healing channel, you use magnesium. And for the transitional channel, you use lithium.
And are we doing all three?
I would do all three.
Like every day or?
I would do it daily.
But can you repeat what's after that part?
There is nothing after that part.
Flushing my system with blank.
Oh, yeah, then please close my intuitive channel down to a comfortable rate.
What's the 5 here?
Huh?
It says 5 salts.
No.
5 Ren salts to channel.
3 salts.
The heading of the email does say 5.
Oh, then I just mistyped it.
Okay.
You know, mess-making machine.
3 types of salt, is that what it's about? 3 different types of salt.
Yeah, they
We don't-
each work differently for different channels.
So we don't actually need these, we just call upon it.
Yeah.
You just call upon it.
And then
I mean,
Spirit does it.
there is an option to buy the salts if you wanna, you know, get in a tub with the different salts, you know, dry off and then let them stay on your body, but that's not necessary. It happens by just you intending it and stating it, declaring it, okay?
Can you email that to me?
I have it, I'll email it.
Thank you. Email it to Lori. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Huh. Thank you for the reminder. Tell people more once.
Elissa.
It occurs to me, is visualization an important part of this? Like actually visualizing light coming through you, or?
Well, it's nice to do that. It's nice to visualize it. It's not necessary. It's this nice. It's like an extra. Yeah. Good. Okay. So, all I'm trying to get across here is that if you're into less nonsense showing up in your life, and you're into less nonsense, I would do this.
Okay.
When you're right before the awakening, you need all the support you can get.
Can we try it? Can we just say it? Like to each
Yeah,
other?
sure.
Can we like,
Yeah.
so can you give it?
Get
to
a
us?
partner
Okay.
and say that one at a time. You say it, and then they say it. Okay, just do one of the salts. Don't do all three, because I'm.
There's a salt rock right there too.
Go ahead, Zen.
Oh, I'm saying it to myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody get a partner and do it with your partner, one at a time. Not 3 at a time. Pair up.
Did you say I asked my channel to be blank with sodium?
Open fully. You have my permission to flush my intuitive channel with sodium. Then close my intuitive channel down to a comfortable rate.
Well, I'll just do this. You have my permission to flush my magnesium.
So you first start with my alpha, my intuition, this salt.
I ask that my intuition,
Ask for my transition.
be flushed out. I ask that my intuition be flushed. So, you have my permission to flush whatever is down there.
I ask that my intuitive channel be fully open, you have my permission to flush my system with sodium. Then please close my intuitive channel down to a comfortable rate.
Philip? A to B, you know, transition.
Then please close my healing channel down to the big rate.
Okay. I'm not writing this down. Just make sure.
So it goes in this order. One, two, two.
Okay.
You choose which channel you want to open, and then that channel becomes the salt.
Okay, I asked that my healing channel be fully open with magnesium. Shall be fully open. Will be fully open.
You have my permission.
You have my permission to flush my system.
Okay. Wrap it up?
Then please close my healing channel. My healing channel. Down to the point. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. Now, after the break, the guests are gonna leave during the break, and I'm just letting you guys know that the Saturday after Phase 1 is gonna be this workshop called Gateways to Awakening, okay? It's a wonderful day to bring your friends and family and loved ones, anybody that you think might be open to the work. And there are lots of stories of people like Moroni and other people who signed up for everything on that particular day because it's a day full of highlights. For the people who are in the awakening, it's going to be a phenomenal kind of anchoring in of what they've experienced. Okay?
I just wanted to say, on
Yeah.
that, there's a note on the flyer, when you register for it online, it's free, we're taking donations from guests, and if your guests come, they need to bring $10 for lunch.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Your lunch will, if you're in the awakening, your lunch is provided.
Okay? I'm just gonna pass these around. Just take one if you want one. They're gonna be up at the awakening too, so you can grab one up there. Bonnie, question?
Are source positions required?
Yes, they are required to be there, and
Sources?
yeah, sources are. And depending on what happens, some of you may be excused, but it's a requirement until you're excused. Okay?
Hey,
Emily?
I have a question about, the 22nd. Are we doing that social barbecue, or is that still undecided?
That's undecided until you get up to the awakening.
Okay.
That's something that the participants will decide and then see if they want to put it on.
Okay.
Thank you, Emily. I love you. You are the greatest.
I think you're,
I didn't even realize you were talking. Thank you, I love you. But,
And Miss Mary needs.
Top boy, Emily.
I know, aren't they the cutest ever?
Okay? Now, I want you to know there's another golden opportunity if you have anybody that you're thinking about that you think is open to considering the awakening. During the awakening, on Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night, I let a few guests come up at the end of the day. Just hang out with us. And Jeremy is a perfect example of that, because couple of years ago, he came up during one of the evenings, loved it, signed up for everything. That's a very common thing. So if you have loved ones that you think might want to be open or consider the awakening, you need to let me know right away, so that, because space is limited, I can only let a few people at a time come up each of those 3 nights. Okay? If you have kids, they can come up, and you don't need to talk to me about it. You can just have them come up in the evening. They can't stay overnight, but they can come and hang out in the energy. Okay? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, kids, I love kids when they walk in this space, they're like,
If anybody's coming up, are they coming up after dinner?
no, they're coming up before dinner.
We need to know if somebody's coming up, we need to know.
So we can have enough food.
On Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday?
It's Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
How far
Night.
do you need to know, Ennis?
Huh?
The sooner the better.
Second
Question?
phase?
Speaking of food, I asked this question but didn't get clarity.
Yeah.
So source positions, are we eating there or are we responsible for our food?
You're eating there.
Okay, cause in the
paper, it says if you're having one meal, such and such required cleanup and all that, which totally makes sense, but the one meal was throwing me off. Okay.
It might have been,
Just need to-
it might have been if you're assisting with the meal. So.
In other words-
Every position is gonna have a shift where they're assisting with the meal.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that's separate
In
from
other words-
actually eating there. Okay.
Yes, and that was actually intended for people who are not source positions, who are just coming up
Okay.
for a shift, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Because in the old days, we'd have people who came up just for dinner to hang out in the space, and they wouldn't put any time into working.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not okay. That's not gonna work.
Okay,
Got it, thank you.
good. Okay. We're gonna take a 15-minute break, and when we get back, we will have more fun. And we're gonna separate the participants from the assistants, from the sources, so we can talk about the participants behind their back.
Woohoo! Sounds like a party.
Yeah.
Have a break, 15 minutes.
Would I be able to get excused from just half of this day?
Huh?
Could I get excused from just half of this day?
It's not up to me, you gotta talk to Alice and Dennis.
Your hair color looks awesome. You look so
Isn't
young.
it always
There's like
when I'm ovulating?
There's no gray in your hair. It's all pretty blonde.
There's never been.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I see.
Or sparkles, all right?
Sparkles.
Sparkle hair. Yeah, I seriously weighed myself out at restaurants this year days and lost weight. I'm totally chubby.
Yeah.
No, I am. It's like, I feel totally weighed more yesterday. Like, it's like I've lost muscle and gotten fat. But I'm like healthier. No, like I literally haven't lost, like, I've gained.
I'm like, I'm not even in it and I feel it so much. Yeah, like in the awakening. Yeah.
So, like, Alice asked me to take over for what you're doing, so I was like, I've been doing that. I was really excited by that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you like chewing on the side. You like chewing and like beating
Yes, absolutely. So I feel good. I think it'll be good. Everything's gonna be alright. I shared a lot of fun time. Yes. Thank you so much. I know. She loves me so much. It's so interesting that we're about to step into that vortex of
I was hoping it was 9:45.
Can't really take 2.5 more hours.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Your whole back is like on fire. It's like burning my hand. The back of your heart. Oh, yeah. So we're gonna do that, okay?
I have to look at the, so the whole thing with yourself has more than one sleeping space in there. You have more dating sleeping space. Right, you definitely need to do like your own bed. So if you, ideally, if you want your own bed, so that's the thing, to guarantee your privacy. I mean, if you don't do 500, you with the girls. If it's,
I'm like, wait, actually right here, she knows the truth. Like, number one, and yeah, you're looking like you're full of shit, because you're not believing me. But she's the one that told me, and she's the eyewitness here.
I'm just saying, I mean,
It's been really bothering me.
Yes.
It's very triggering.
Yeah.
No, it's a shift.
Big,
She just like flipped.
youngest baby pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she came over.
And there's definitely conflict of interest.
And
She,
well, the finance director
big baby pictures, always
who
sitting
works at the law
on the
firm
desk.
that
We're showing it to her, and she remembers seeing it.
finance is vast.
No, I can't wait.
I
Big,
suspected
youngest
before.
baby.
Like,
You can put it in the credit card.
Now, I have other baby pictures, but.
That's what anyway, I'm still looking for it. He's imminently looking in the United States within my family. This would be the last session, if I get another session with therapist. So it's like, do I really want to visit a therapist?
Mom, I might just slip that in there.
Right. Like, am I just trying to, I you guys talk to me that way. Or is it more like, you know, you know what I mean? I need to kill myself because this is like the first.
Thousands.
I did.
Every picture, everything. I wanted to throw them all away. Every family member. Yeah. Of course, then I found the box and it's all my
That's what I've been like most processing. It's like I'm mentally injured. Like it would be abnormal for me to not be mentally injured based on the trauma.
They're old, those are way old. Yeah, you have to have big one.
It distills down to the human experience. Realize is she's now jumping on the bandwagon of DMV and the whole like that momentum, right? But I'm like, Gary's like, you know, maybe tell her like, what would you say if I got reevaluated and it was found that they were false, and I'm really not mentally ill and severely injured by what they did to me.
We pay $1,000, that would make sure they're.
No.
We pay $500, I'll make sure that we're the only ones sleeping in that bed.
I tell you what, when you really choose into you,
This is where I start my
Spirit moves all the obstacles out of you. It's almost like the red carpet rolls for you. Because it's like,
But that's the thing is,
Oh my gosh, it's like the planet. I looked it up and it was like lighting up hazel. That's what. Oh, it's
invested our time.
it looks like it's later. They're waking up. There she is. Let's go. Everyone else will wait.
10 minutes.
space outside where
People really
space outside.
Holy, I forgot. Okay, 10 minutes.
Are you talking about Airstream, or are you talking about Flash, or are you talking about stock?
I have found, I love that.
I was in,
Are you over the food?
Very human.
Nick is crying down the hall. So you know.
Sarah's with her.
I did that yesterday. I got through it for today, so I can function today.
Oh, did you call Laura?
No, but I got coaching by Lori, so now I'm in another place.
No, I mean about the big.
Yeah, now I can talk better. I don't know. Anyway,
Lori helped me at a huge level today, so I'll be in communication with everybody tomorrow. I told Elisa I was planning on, I set my mind up that I'd be here at 4 o'clock, which had me here on time. And I said, you are accountable for Gary. You need to be early to everything. You're holding space for Gary. She was like, oh, and your Ferrari. So that's how I cleared her today. I don't know if you want me to give her a consequence, but I did, so.
You should ask her, how many, which one is this?
Okay, all right. Okay, and then Devin, he said he's working massive overtime to be in the awakening. And so I told him to call you tomorrow. So I'll text him and say, call him tomorrow. So I said, watch the video tonight or tomorrow for tonight's meeting.
When you talk to Devin, tell him he should get us whatever money he has, so that his subconscious fears don't create a circumstance where everything he saved up has to go to that.
Okay.
If he gets it to us, we can avoid it.
Okay.
Like, I can't, like, almost like I can't take that because, like, it's like what they did to spite me. It's like the only satisfaction I got out of the whole scenario. I got away, but at least we called it nice, okay? I can say, I've been gaslighted, like I've been gaslighted, but I'm glad. But it's phenomenal God self. Oh, it's just one of those. Oh my God, it's like my soul is being drawn in quarters. It's like I'm around the people my family knows, and then I go see my daughter. The therapist is like, let me see your teeth. That is so awesome. I'm so glad. And just make sure you smile happy. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I had the same preparation.
Yeah, I did too. My tooth got knocked out. Yeah. Boom. Oh. See?
How are you doing?
I'm much better today. I'm much
Wait,
better
what?
now. Of just how it's been arrived. Everything that you said.
Yeah, well, you know, Jeff says
I missed class movement to mastery.
yeah, so
And because
he's
I
gonna
didn't
write
do
his
math.
material. They haven't let him on yet, so I told him that, see, it's about the thing he asked. And so I'll send you a copy of my letter, which was modeled after your letter.
Do you think it matters?
It does matter, it totally matters. Well, you know, it makes a big difference how you ask.
I
Like,
wasn't
I'm
right.
on my-
I'm like handy.
But I'm learning a lot as to
We're really
the
short
review
draft.
from that's what you say. I can't do depending on our
And then just write up your little script and run it by easy.
2 minutes.
Okay, and she made all the difference on mine, and I'm like, I'll do it again. I'll do it again with you.
I didn't even hear the last
No,
one.
it's somebody else said it.
2 minutes.
Well, I'll do it. Because now I have material for the second one.
I don't know if I have. I have 2 minutes. Well, I just.
On the second one, I'm gonna do that one, no.
Hey, white girl money.
Yeah, really, it's so funny.
I just had to go freaking, I'm gonna turn in all my paperwork today to myself, my license, and taking all my best paperwork. They're busted. Had to like take in, I had to take in just the court documents and the arrest and everything for them to evaluate to renew my massage license. Yeah, the pain, I was driving.
There's another song. I can, my awakening. You just need three, but you're supposed to go through a bunch of music. And I've been going through tons of music and
See, and I don't know play music like that, because I already have two.
yeah, but I've been going through all this nostalgia. I've got all these heavy
It's
metal.
too hard.
Have a seat.
It's too hard to pick.
Down to
1 minute.
these songs.
Okay, we might have to find whoever you're sharing it with, to ask them.
I thought I had.
Just asking, when do you want us to make the announcement about the coming to the board instead of you around that?
Probably best after we do the agreements.
I don't know if I would say around money, I would say if there's.
Do you wanna make the announcement, cause you would be good.
I
Any
can-
money conversations come to,
Yeah, I don't know if I wanna present any money conversations.
any way you wanna say it, any decisions that need to be made.
Actually, I think I could make the announcement by just saying, because of everything that's going on,
Right.
I would rather people not talk to me about money, I would rather you go to the
Board
board.
decisions, yeah. And that's Garrett, Ennis, Lori, and Alex.
Just remind me when you do it.
Okay, all right, good. Look how cute I
I know
am.
when you do it.
Look at my cute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I need you guys to go.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to be up here.
Oh, where's the chair? I need a chair.
Look how cute.
Okay. Participants. Quiet. Participants. Which of you who are participants is very interested in being a facilitator? Okay? So, Emily, I'll have you and Shelley lead the meeting with all the participants in the boardroom.
Woo! Heck
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, if Irving has kids in the boardroom, you gotta move them to the lobby so that they can do the meeting in the boardroom, okay? So, the participants are gonna do this. You're gonna go to the boardroom, and you're gonna take about 10 minutes to pair up and share my dreams, my goals, and with goals, you're gonna have 2 goals. practical and experiential
For the workshop?
for the awakening. Let me tell you why. Practical means specific and measurable. I want to increase my income to $1,000 a month more than I'm making now. See, that's specific and measurable. You get it? That's a practical goal. Experiential is different, because if you say the awakening is going to be painless and adventuresome and thrilling and whatever you words you have, I promise you that's what the awakening is going to be. Literally. If you say it's going to be painless, even when you're crying your guts out in some breakthrough or whatever, it will be painless. Whatever you say is so is so. So you want to put whatever adjectives you want for your experiential goal, because you will literally determine how that's going to be for you. Then, Emily and Shelley, after 10 minutes of them pairing up and sharing, then you're going to do up to 20 minutes of sharing from the group, where you can hear everybody. Okay? Then they're going to have 10 minutes pairing up and sharing any fears, considerations, nervousness. I want you all to know you really want to get all of this out on the table. Because if you're really lucky and you dredge up some of the stuff that right now is subconscious, it will really further your action. Okay? If you share enough honest fears and doubts and whatever, concerns, considerations, you might actually get to where you tap into the stuff that is subconscious, and that's the most important stuff. Go ahead, Zen.
I actually didn't get to do this last year, so y'all are like getting a super awesome gift right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, I don't have time to explain it, but I just want you to know, if I could do this with every person signed up in the Awakening, I would do it in a heartbeat. You guys are really lucky that you're here, so you can get this, because this is the best way to move them forward so they can actually, you know, not subconsciously sabotage their awakening. You know? Okay. Then, Emily and Shelley, after they pair up and share for 10 minutes, back and forth, then give them up to 20 minutes where they can share with the whole group. Okay? Then when you're done with all of that, you can just let them share whatever, and then we'll call you back in when it's time.
Okay.
After we've had a really good laugh about you all.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Well, we're freaking funny, Gary, so.
Way funny.
Yeah.
Smelling, looking,
We're gonna keep this group
acting,
under
being.
control.
Well, now that Jeff's chosen it, I can see it'll be a fun group.
Yeah, it will be. Yay, yay! Yay, Jeff! Yay! Woo!
Okay, Awakening participants, don't let the door hit you in the butt.
Come on, little chickies.
Yay!
Is that your coat?
No. It was on the chair.
It looks good on you.
It's a girl's
Like,
coat.
kinda
The button's on the wrong side, so.
You are kind of jittery.
I know, right?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I was embracing my femininity.
Okay,
Twitching.
source positions, do me a favor, move to the front row and toward the center. And coaches, you can sit with them. Couple of announcements before we go into the agreements. Remember, especially during phase 2, that you are eligible to participate in the processes like parents process, like connected breath, like the death or farewell process. But to do that, you must replace yourself in your duties and don't expect logistics or anybody else to do this for you. Then sign up, and space is limited. First come, first serve.
If you are signing up, please make sure you let either me or Alice know.
Yep. Okay. Now, remind anybody you come in contact with that is an Awakening grad that the new system means you cannot just show up at the Awakening and expect to be an assistant. You have to schedule ahead of time, okay? Usually, the daytimes are wide open, okay? And you can only join us for dinner if you've assisted a full shift, okay? Good.
Is assistance different than source
Yep,
position?
yep.
Okay.
Sources are the only people who may and might stay overnight at the lodges.
It's not
Every-
confirmed?
Huh?
It's not confirmed?
Well, if you don't wanna stay overnight at the lodge, then you're not
So
required
it's not
to.
required, but it is.
It's not required.
Included.
It's included. Right. Everybody else, if they're not a source position, has to drive up and down the mountain every day.
Does everybody hear source?
Yeah?
Okay.
But
Uh,
that applies to like.
Michelle, Tricia, will you come and sit with the group?
So like, for instance, I have a couple of people that I'm calling to assist me in my position.
That's
Those are
right.
People that would come up and down.
That's right. That's right. Good.
But do they need, do they need a copy of this and they gotta go through the agreements and all that
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
kind of jazz too? Cool, I figured, but.
So we need to know who's gonna replace us in what specific process?
Well, let's say you want to participate in the parents' process, and you have a job to do. You got to have somebody else who's an Awakening grad take your position while you're in the parents' process.
So it's usually gonna be someone who's not in another source position, but have to call
Absolutely,
upon an assistant.
absolutely, some other Awakening grad, okay? And I don't know if you remember, but last time I announced it, if any of you want to know who's an Awakening grad to call, I've got a ton of lists over there that you can take some lists and start calling people, you know?
So the people who went through the Awakening last year that were moving to Mastery, aren't they source positions too?
Some of them, a lot of them did the Awakening.
So can we know which which ones of those are source positions so we don't call them to replace us? Like Luxley
No.
and Delanne and Justin,
them are
for
source
example.
positions.
All of those are not sources.
None of, if they're not here, they're
None
not
of
sources.
That's
These
not accurate.
Oh, really?
Basically are
Wasn't that their requirement though, for movement to Mastery
Mhm.
last year?
was to source.
Yeah, and.
Except that some of them, by special conditions, were excused from that requirement.
And if there's, you said you had some people coming to assist. They have not been through the Awakening, or they have been through
They
the
have,
Awakening?
yeah, like Alice Hall and Wendy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
If you are having anybody, come up,
They gotta schedule it.
yeah, make sure that I know, cause there's some that might not work.
But yeah.
Also, go ahead.
Is there a list of which processes are on which days and at what times, so we know what days and times they need to be there to replace us?
Did you guys get them the calendar, the schedule yet?
No.
Okay.
thought I
Well, you
saw
have
it.
it though, right?
We can put it together.
Why don't you get it to them as soon as possible?
It is in this packet that I'm going to be handing you.
Oh.
That particular page cannot be seen by anyone that's doing the Awakening, cause it will blow it all if they see that schedule, okay?
Yeah.
It's the last page in this packet, don't let them see it, don't lose it.
But it's here,
What
so
was
it's
the
there.
packet?
Find
I
it.
wanna emphasize that. We make
The
an
one she's
announcement
going to
like
give.
that, and somebody always makes it up, well, like in the old days, we used to actually videotape people's breakthrough so they could watch it, you know what I mean? And then they'd show it to their husband, well, you know, my husband's a psychologist, you know what I mean? And wonder why he's never gonna ever sign up for the Awakening. You know what I mean? So I'm not kidding, what she said is accurate. Do not show that to any of the participants.
Spoils the movie, y'all. Don't spoil the movie.
Yeah, protect it with your life. You
Don't
can
give the
show it to your
punchline.
assistants.
And
but
don't
you
leave it
can't-
where somebody who's an Awakening participant could find it and look
Yeah.
at it.
That's what I don't want, is it for it to be left on the table and somebody, oh,
What's this?
yeah.
And everybody did hear, if you have somebody that's coming up to help you assist, you're to let me know?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. Also, if you wanna be a breakthrough leader at any time, you need to let me know,
Yes.
okay? By email, not text, email. That way I can print it and save it in a file and like that, okay?
Did you have a question, Trish?
I'll ask her later.
Okay. Okay, also, Chariots of Fire. Do y'all remember what a
Yes.
powerful moment that was?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't tell them tonight, but that's when the slingshot lets go. You know, they're coming in, their watches and keys and stuff, and then we bring them into this room and the crowd goes crazy and we're all cheering and, you know what I mean? And it affects them on a very deep subconscious level. That's the moment when the slingshot lets go. And they won't even understand why. Some of them will sit there and they'll start crying. They don't even know why they're crying.
That was me last year. I'm like, what's going on?
Right, right. Now, I am assuming that you all would like to have a really nice Chariots of Fire for them,
Oh,
right?
yes.
So I want you to think about who you know that you could contact. Any Awakening grads that would be willing to be here so we have a really rip-roaring Chariots of Fire. You know what I'm saying? If you have connections with any Awakening grads from last year or the year before, or Lori?
So on that note, I did have somebody ask about being able to be here. Who do I have in contact?
You wanna do it or you want?
Being here for Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Yeah.
Have them contact
Gary.
me.
What time is church?
Email me.
10:30. Saturday, 10:30.
Actually, let's say
Better than that,
10:15.
yeah.
Let's say 10:15, so that if they're a few minutes late, they won't miss it.
What time are we bringing them through?
Huh?
What time are we bringing them through?
It's usually between 10:15 and 10:30.
Okay. I would,
10 o'clock?
I would say 10.
Yeah,
That way,
tell-
because we need to set
Tell
them
them
up
10
and
o'clock. That's
explain
right, because
to
I
them.
need to train them. I
Yeah.
need to teach them how
Yeah,
to do
10
it.
o'clock at least.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
So if you think they're gonna be late, tell them 9:45.
Yeah. If they have an issue with being late.
I do that to myself.
What time do we need to be here?
9:45.
Yes, 9:45 is distance meeting.
Okay, Ennis and I are gonna go through the agreements with you. Now, do you already have this in their packets?
No.
I'm gonna print them out, I'm gonna hand them out,
I got my.
and we're gonna go through them one at a time. And I do wanna say that some of these are a bit giggly, because they're so obvious.
I printed mine. I'm good student.
She's showing off. She wants acknowledgement.
Let's acknowledge Zen for being studious. Zen, good student!
Astute.
You want one?
For once. This week's.
So,
That'll cost you.
$1 million. Thank you. Did you see that cute?
first one, we'll rotate.
Okay.
I agree not to begin a new dating physical relationship with any of the participants for at least 6 months after phase 2 is complete.
Does it count if you're already married? Because it's kind of new. I'm just kidding.
Emphasis on the word new. New. One time we had somebody who did not go over these agreements with the assistants, and some assistant invited somebody to be one of the massage therapists who had not been through the awakening, had never read these agreements. So when a participant was on the table with him, he made it up that they were falling in love. So they got married like
It
a
wasn't
week-
me.
a week after the awakening, and then a week later they divorced. You know what I mean? It's like,
Wow.
you know, people are like clouds. They fill up the space that they are given. So on this one, we don't want to give you any space. Go ahead.
I agree to be professionally dressed. See the dress code. Does anybody have any questions on what professionally dressed means?
Where's the dress code?
Where's the dress
It's in the
code?
assistant training.
It's
packet.
in the assistant training packet that I emailed all of you. Did everybody
It's right
look?
here.
Did everybody look at their email
Yep.
and see this?
Yep.
It has the conditions of workability, it has everything. Did anybody not open up the email and see this? Nikki?
What was that, Nikki?
I said I wish we had a workbook of everything for the entire year.
Yeah.
This is just really hard for me to keep mental note on everything.
Mm.
Go back to chapter.
You won't have to.
So you did get this?
Do you want another copy of it?
She will get it.
Okay.
I put it in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a question on what professional dress is? Okay.
No jeans.
Okay, the next one. I have my own personal goals and intentions set for this awakening. Everybody gets that, right? Go ahead.
I have checked with my inner child and have wholeheartedly chosen in to assisting in any way that I am asked to and physically capable of. Everybody get that?
Any questions? Okay.
Actually, one.
Yeah.
So, you're in a position, you're doing that position, and you're asked to do something, which totally makes sense. How do you know if it's not taking you away from the thing you're already doing?
Ask the person that's giving you it to do. Say, I'm currently doing this.
Okay.
Is this going to conflict with what I'm currently doing?
Yes, or what would you prefer I do? What I'm already doing or the new thing?
Nice.
Good. Okay, I understand.
And, I want
Go
to
ahead.
go over one other thing on that. So like Zen was saying, don't think that if you're asked to do something, you are negated from the responsibilities you're currently holding. Does that make sense? Do you have a problem with that, Nikki? Okay.
I agree to not, I agree we all need to stay after the homecoming to clean up so that the producer is not left by themselves. All are typically exhausted, so the more of us that pitch in, the sooner it is complete.
I've seen it go really quick and I've seen it go really slow.
When's the
And it's no fun when one or two people are left
21st
behind.
July.
You know what I mean?
I agree to not promote my private practice or other events outside of RISE events, i.e. at the homecoming.
That actually goes for the entire awakening, okay? Not that we don't love you to have a private practice and be successful, it's just that it's not appropriate. Like when I go to Ron McMillan's thing or Kevin Malay's thing, I have to find out how they want me to promote my thing or not at all, you know what I mean? It's like that. Go ahead.
Oh, I just did that one, but I agree to arrive on time or early for my shifts and stay until my shift is complete or replace myself.
Any questions? I agree to replace myself with someone who does not already have a position at the awakening if I have previously agreed to a shift and cannot be there.
Added to that, that they have been through the awakening. Right?
It should be an awakening grad.
Yeah. I recognize that this is a drug-free and alcohol-free zone, and I will not bring or participate in the consumption of either.
You know, there have been once or twice in the past when somebody who we thought was extremely responsible asked if they could have a sip of wine at the end of the day, and we were like, yeah, because we got who they are and we knew they were not gonna be responsible. We just, in general, that's something that we wanna keep out of the space. Okay. I have left all weapons at home.
Including emotional ones.
It's amazing how many times we've had young people, you know, have knives and things up at the awakening without even thinking about it. You know what I mean? No Magnum 45s, you know.
No water guns.
So that brings a question up.
Uh-huh.
So then on the Friday night when Sonia and Alice are doing the first night, is that a question that they should ask? Because you just mentioned that young people inadvertently, they may be just carrying something that they carry in general, might not even realize that they not allowed.
It's yes-ish. So it's more the assistance that we're really concerned about, but I mean, it definitely can be brought up for the participants as well.
Kind of an interesting question.
Yeah. it's kind of, in setting the space, I think the group will follow. It's, that's kinda how I feel, is that?
Yeah.
I
Did you have a
think I
question,
remember
Nikki?
them talking
On the
about that
next
last
one.
year,
Okay.
actually.
I agree that my conversation at the Awakening will be of a professional nature. This means no gossiping, swearing, backbiting, fighting, or conversation/jokes of a sexual nature with others around. What was your question?
To what level of extent of swear words can we not use?
So this is concerning the assistants. Sorry, I couldn't find the words. If you start swearing, you start going into your crap, you're going to affect the whole group. If a participant is in a process and they're swearing, like it's therapeutic, like that's their process, it's their awakening. So we don't want the assistants affecting their awakening in that manner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did
Kind
you
of
have a
like
particular
when you're
concern?
not in a breakthrough, you're maybe in the hot tub after the night is over. You have to remember that a participant might get very triggered by what you don't think is a swear word, but they would trigger them. So we don't want that.
If you need to move some emotional energy, there's
It's not
places.
about anger, aggression, it's about habit.
Oh, okay, yeah, just be very aware of your linguistics.
Use the letters instead of the
And
word.
Nikki, another way to support yourself if that is a habit, is there somebody that you feel really safe with, that you say, hey, will you just support me so that if something slips out of my mouth, you help me catch it? You know, just set up support systems.
Okay, I agree to keep my actions professional. This includes no sexual harassment or public displays of affection.
So I cannot give my husband a kiss, is what you're saying.
Not in public.
Okay.
Behind closed doors.
Okay.
Get over
Can you
it.
let him know that so he doesn't get offended? He can be really sensitive, you know.
Can you explain
It's in
that
my
one?
agreements.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Why? Like, why can a husband and wife not kiss? If that's normal
Again,
behavior?
it's the same thing as swearing. Some people would be fine, you know, just wrapping their legs around each other. It's okay when they're values, but other people it's not, and we don't want people being triggered unnecessarily, that's all.
Okay.
And can I just add to that real quick? So, we live in a really conservative culture, and we've learned the hard way. It really innocent seeming things that it can literally affect enrollment for the next awakening. So we've had to learn to be very cautious.
Thank you. If I'm triggered while on shift, I agree to put it on a shelf and do my job well until I can clear it myself or take it to an assistant, well-being, or Alice or Ennis. Once again, I want to emphasize, if you're given something to do and you have a trigger with that, please let me know in that instant.
And who is assistant well-being again?
Assistant well-being is Jesse.
Jess.
Ennis, can you add me to that list too? Like if I'm up, I'll be up there from
And
Sunday
Lori.
through Wednesday, so you can also say hi to me.
Although it wouldn't be great, like, if she's in the middle of doing a breakthrough.
Yeah, don't do that.
To walk in and go, Lori, I need your help, I'm having a breakdown.
Please don't do that.
Discretion, folks.
Yeah, don't do it in the middle, do it before. When they're asking about their safety. That's when you do it.
That's funny.
She's here on video right now.
Who?
Jessie.
Jesse.
She is?
Yeah.
Jessie.
Yeah, the next one.
Oh, I understand that the Awakening is not a place to market my private practice, my multi-level program, or any other products or services.
Did you already ask? Apparently I
yeah.
had to say it twice.
Yeah,
Okay.
kinda. I will bring all concerns to the person in charge of that item. If I don't know who that is, bring it to me or Alice. Alice or I. Alice or me.
Wait.
What's the item?
What item?
Is it a missing item?
Yeah. I'm
In other words,
assuming that's what
if
you're
I
talking
have any concerns, that's the item.
Yeah.
Like concerns about anything.
Yeah.
About food, or about a participant, or about an assistant.
Okay. It was just worded weird. Got it.
Yeah.
So that item or issue, basically.
Yeah.
So I wanna add to that, you know, because we're in a situation where there's a lot to do, and sometimes there's limited time to do it, it does trigger us. It triggers all of us, and this is a wonderful opportunity to practice the new skills we're learning, to really apply stretching beyond our considerations to grow ourselves into our best selves, right? But sometimes that's harder than it seems. So one of the things that is really important is when we go to somebody and say, hey, I need a little support, we want to really honor that there is support there for you. It's just being attentive to what the task at hand needs, to be able to handle that and then get the support. So we're playing a higher level game. And it's a really exciting growth game.
And if you are ever triggered by a specific person, at your earliest convenience, please bring that to me or Alice. Okay? And if it is me or Alice that you are triggered with, you can bring it to the other one, or you can bring it, if you're ever triggered with me, you definitely can bring it straight to me. Okay? I just want y'all to know that. Okay? If you don't, for some reason, feel safe with that, then you definitely can take it to
Marty,
Alice
I
and
need
she
to
can
ask
bring
you
it to
about
me.
something you said to me that's been bugging me.
Okay.
But also on that note, don't ever bring any of that to Gary.
Yeah.
No.
He's in a facilitative role that he does not need to have anybody's issues brought to him.
And if,
but, yeah.
if you have a problem with somebody else, do not take it to them first.
Yeah.
Okay?
Get support to move your energy before you take something to the person who has the issue.
Unless it's me. You can bring it straight to me.
I will only do energy work when asked to by the person in charge. Instead of saying Laura, it should say Alice or Ennis.
That does say Alice or Ennis.
It does say Alice.
Yeah.
That one does. Yours is not updated.
Okay. If I am doing energy work, I will not do huge actions designed to focus the attention on myself.
Give an example, Gary.
Haruge! I fluff a mean aura.
I will not mention to anyone that they are possessed or having trouble with an evil spirit. If I have a concern about that, I will speak to Alice or me.
Ennis about it.
Almost just for me.
You know, just looking at you, I can see that the devil made
Are
you
you
do it.
possessed?
Time for an exorcism.
May the power of Christ compel you.
Hopefully your head's screwed on straight.
You just haven't fluffed that aura. Fine.
No tarot cards.
No, it's yours.
No tarot cards or anything else of a questionable nature are allowed up at the awakening.
No Ouija board?
Well, that's not questionable.
Oh.
Oils and rocks are allowed, but be smart about them. More and bigger is not always better. Is there anybody that's planning on bringing oils?
I always have my rose oil, but that's because.
Okay, nobody else? What?
I'm not planning to bring it, but also there are people that actually have allergic reactions
Yeah.
to oils.
Yeah.
So we can't just be putting oils on ourselves without getting really clear about the actual reality of people.
But not only just putting them on yourself, just even having them open, they're
Yeah.
very aromatic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Nikki.
Can we bring Sage or Palo Santo and do it outside away
Sure.
from people?
I don't have a problem with that. Do you have a problem
With
with
what?
that?
Sage.
Sage.
Sage is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like namchak incense is fine as long as it's people in the room have.
But she's wanting to do it outside, which is
Yeah,
fine.
outside is fine. Elisa?
I've been using clove oil and stuff like that for.
Clove is pretty strong. Is it something you have to have?
Well, I've been using a clove oil mixed with some other stuff as a mouthwash for abscess.
That's fine. Is it,
It's just not something to wear, so.
yeah, no,
It's
I
not
would
really
say,
external,
I would say that's fine. Just be wary of how much you're using in the bathroom because other people are gonna use that bathroom,
Okay,
so,
I'll be this.
okay. Tricia?
I have the oil blend that Vanessa made that Chantel suggested, so I use that.
Okay,
several
that was
times a day.
pretty light, so that should be fine.
Okay, I will never work on anyone without their permission. In other words, don't go to a participant especially. You can always check in with an assistant, but don't go to a participant and just start massaging their back or, you know, a lot of times participants are too wishy-washy to say that they object, but that can take them out of their process completely. Okay? Unless you ask them, would you like me to, you know, do this for you or whatever? And especially don't be taking people through stuff like empowerment dialogues or, you know, any of that stuff. Or whatever technology you're familiar with, don't do it until you get their permission or check it with Alice or Ennis.
And I would say that's across the board with everybody. Don't just start touching anybody without permission,
Yeah.
assistant or participant.
If I am staying at the Awakening Lodges, I agree to be respectful and allow others to sleep at appropriate hours. It doesn't mean that you can't stay up late, the participants cannot stay up late, but if you're staying up late, let other people sleep.
And the other thing too is that sometimes people have stayed in the main room thinking that people upstairs couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
But they were laughing and joking, and then people woke up, or worse yet, the participants wouldn't say anything, and then they'd be up half the night because these people like to stay up late. You see what I'm saying? Okay. I understand that I am not allowed to invite anyone to assist or come to the lodge at the Awakening without getting, there's Laura's name again on mine. You guys have Alice or Ennis on
Yes,
there?
we have the new one. We're good.
Good. Permission first. Awakening grads only. The exception to that is children who are either assistant or participants' children, which can come up at the end of the day.
If my parents were the ones taking care of them and bring them, that's okay too, right?
That's okay. We just have to
Make sure we know.
let them know. Because if they're coming up before dinner, we gotta be prepared ahead of time.
And that's not coming to assist, that's it, but yes, to answer your question.
Unless they've done the Awakening.
And on anybody that's coming up, if you're inviting anybody to assist, clear it through me first.
Yeah, by the way, I'm glad you said that, because there are certain people that at this point are not allowed at the Awakening until they get clear with us. You know what I mean? Like they're out of integrity and, you know, all that stuff.
I agree that Rise Leadership Group is not responsible for any lost or stolen items many bring to the Awakening. They recommend I do not bring anything of value. We recommend you don't bring it.
By the way, like, over the years, we have seen where somebody had kleptomania, you know, where they had a habit of stealing things, and nobody knew about it. And so all of a sudden, you know, 3 or 4 people go, hey, I brought a really expensive camera up, and hey, I had a lot of jewelry, you know what I mean? It's like, and they didn't know that somebody was going through all their stuff, and, you know, and the person had a disease. You know what I mean?
We didn't kill him.
No, they were cured after the Awakening.
I'm
healed.
Maybe just one more breakthrough, you know? Trish?
I'm getting my own room up there, and I will have people assisting me that have not done the Awakening. That's fine, as long as they don't go to the lodge.
As long as they don't go to the lodge.
And my kids have done the Awakening,
Mhm.
so.
They can be at the Awakening Lodge anytime they want. Although, certainly if they're hanging out with Derek, they can't be around during any of the breakthroughs. Okay, I think it's your turn next.
I have a question. As a participant last year, and this is gonna be at the same lodge that we were last year, right? With the bunk
Brighton.
beds and is that the one with the bunk beds?
Silver Lake, yeah.
Yeah. So, Sonia was there and she gave me permission to take sage and actually sage the lodge
Mhm.
because there was like serious energy in there. Are we gonna be allowed to do that for the sake of participants?
Depends.
Is there people that are allergic to sage?
To sage?
I would say it depends.
sounds
I'm not
really
gonna say
minor.
yes and I'm not gonna say no. It depends. We'll look at it when it comes to it.
Make sure that if they do that, they do it as soon as they get to the lodge
Yeah.
for setup, so that the odor and all that is gone by the time we get up there.
Yeah.
Gary, you're gonna talk about.
And I think any form of clearing the energy is a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay.
As far as professional dress goes, is there a time in the day or the evening where we can wear normal clothes?
Yep. When the day is over, All the source positions can change into casual, after dinner.
If we wanna exercise in the morning, is there a time that we need to be dressed by?
Yeah, every morning, I mean, who is it that's gonna ask me the
Good
time that
question.
they're waking up and all that? Alice said.
Potentially.
Logistics or her or?
Potentially Sean.
Okay.
Potentially Sean.
Okay,
Wasn't it
so
well-being last year?
Sean will ask me every
Maybe, it
night
might be
what
Lisa,
time
but-
we want people to wake up and have breakfast and all that. And then once I tell him, then, you know, you'll have an idea of how much earlier you gotta get up if you wanna go running or whatever. Okay. And people who are typically early risers always wake up before we get the room going, you know?
So if we wanna go exercise, do we have to have someone, like if I'm on call all the time, 24/7, I don't have anyone else? Do I have to get someone else every time I wanna go running or something?
What's your role?
Well-being.
Participant well-being. Just make sure somebody knows where you're at. Okay?
And out of curiosity, here's a question on that, because can she just ask another assistant that's in
Definitely.
the space to replace her during that period?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanna say one thing else about that. I would strongly recommend that all of you have other Awakening grads come up at times, because you do not wanna take your position on 24/7.
Yeah.
You will be toast within a couple of days. You know what I mean? Like, you don't wanna think, oh, I can do it all myself. Whoa, no. You know? You will be burned out like that.
Because it's
So-
more than just logistics, it's emotion, there's a lot of it.
And if you do feel like you're getting burned out, do not hesitate to mention that to me or Alice. Okay? We're here to support you.
But just plan ahead of time, knowing that. that
Plan
will-
ahead of time,
will
because
happen.
you really literally need well-being breaks. You know what I mean? Oh, my, so-and-so's coming up, I can take a couple hours and sit in the hot tub or
And
take a
Jesse's
run.
y'all's well-being. Don't hesitate to use her. Okay?
I think you're the next one.
I'm not, but I'll read it. As a source person, I understand that I am agreeing to be present or replace myself at the Saturday seminar following each phase of the awakening. Failure to do so is an incompletion of my assisting agreement and puts my $500 quit check in jeopardy.
The Saturday seminar following each, that's the post
The
meeting.
gateway, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just the one Saturday or is it two?
Two.
One after each.
One is a whole day and one of them is a half a day.
And one other thing that's not on here, the only one of y'all that should be communicating with Gary is Elisa. If y'all have anything that you wanna communicate with Gary about, bring it to me or Alice.
In general, the rule is, don't initiate a conversation with me unless I initiate it first. And whenever my head is clear and there's a moment, I'll be talking to you guys, you know what I mean? But I need to focus on my attention. The whole reason why I have a well-being person who might, you know, iron my clothes or polish my shoes or whatever is because all of my energy is going to the participants. You really don't want me thinking about stuff that's like that.
Does that count for meals too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, if I'm sitting at a table with some people, I'll be talking up a storm with you.
Oh, you're saying during a meal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like during a meet, yeah, like.
No.
Yeah, you can say, hey,
If I'm at a
how's it
table,
going?
you can,
But if it's an issue.
Right, yeah, no issues.
No
but you
issues,
You can
yeah.
say positive things, got it.
Yeah.
Quick question,
Mhm.
yeah.
on the list of, Awakening grads, and you said there's some that are out of integrity. Is there any way to know that so that we just don't waste time, or just call them
No.
and run them by you?
Run 'em by me.
Okay.
I wouldn't even
there a
call them,
list?
run them by me before you call them.
The list that I prepared, I took out all those people that I knew of, so
Okay.
odds are you're not gonna bump into any of those people.
There's a list somewhere?
Sweet, can we have that list?
I've told you guys last meeting and this time, and I just wanna reiterate it, I have a stack of lists here.
Let me see one of those. Sure.
That are all Awakening grads, that are basically, that's what I said last time, at the end of the meeting, I said, is anybody nervous about getting enough people to source their position? And I said, I have lists that you can have if you want to.
It takes the average person 4 to 5 times to hear something before it
Hey,
sinks
Gary.
in. Just saying,
Say-
it's the
wait,
average
wait,
person.
Wait, Zen?
Yes.
Can you say that 4 or 5 times for him to hear?
Oh, there's more than just that.
There's a whole bunch of lists, there's
Yeah.
not just one.
Here you go.
I printed a few of everything.
Can you just pass them out to everyone?
Yeah, you just pass them around.
This is just the top page.
Yeah, here. There you go. Over here, yeah, take them, pass them around. Each paper clip, here, give that paper clip back, son. Put that right there. Each paper clip's a new list.
Don't the rest of you guys want some? Yeah, pass them around. Come and get them.
I emailed you guys both of these things. One is called Owning the Source Position at the Awakening, which has benefits of owning a source position, my dreams and visions, source position agreement, how to source a project, how to assign a task and ensure results, listening for certainty, and speaking for certainty. Now, what I want to say is that Lori and I have spent a lot of years where we kept realizing over and over again how incredibly valuable listening for certainty is. You know what I mean? And the difference it makes in our lives and our results, okay? Well, believe me, in a situation that's as intense as being a source position at an awakening, you want to get as good as you can, as fast as you can. Because, you know, when I was in Est and they were trying to promote the communication seminar, they said, let me show you how this works. And they said, okay, I've got a cigarette here. Who wants to volunteer to teach me how to smoke? And somebody volunteered to go, okay, go ahead. They go, okay, now put the cigarette in your mouth. And he puts the whole cigarette in his mouth. No. Pull it out. And he pulls the whole thing out. No, put it in just, you know, and it takes like 10 minutes. Because you realize that people don't know how to communicate. So for example, here's what's gonna happen for some of you. You're gonna be in a source position and there'll be some assistants and you'll be in charge of telling somebody something. And you'll say, Elissa, would you do me a favor and go and do A, B, and C and then come back and let me know how it went, okay? And then Elissa goes and she's gone for 3 hours. And she comes back, I said, what took you so long? And she goes, well, you told me to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and I did all that. I go, you know what I mean? It's like, and so what we do at the Awakening is we say, Elissa, please do me a favor, go do A, B, and C. And then I say, now say it back to me so I know we're communicating. And Elissa says, you said do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, actually, I didn't say that. I said do A and B. And then say it back to me. And when she goes A, B, and C, I go, oh, now we're on the same page.
So do you get what the skill is? The skill is say it back to me.
Say it
Write
back
that
to me.
down. Say
In
it back to me.
in that right there, if y'all will start doing that as a habit, anytime you hear something, say, this is what I heard, your communication will get a lot clearer.
Really saves a lot of cleanup conversation.
I cannot emphasize this enough, okay? For a moment, stop looking at the list, please. Do me a favor, okay? Now, what do I want you to say if you're telling me to do something? Say it back to me. That's right. Because I'm gonna make up all kinds of stuff in my head that what you just said is gonna look very different from what you meant. But if you say it back to me, then we're on the same page.
Now
Everybody
say
got
it
it?
to this group because they were not paying attention.
Well, actually,
They got
when
it
I
the
did
first time.
I did it
They
the
weren't
first time
paying
because I
attention
was
the first
role playing
time.
with Elisa. Okay?
And then the second part of it is what Anna said, which is, what I heard is,
Yeah.
so if your person that is talking to you doesn't say it back to me, if you say, what I heard is this correct, then you're supporting that communication all the way through.
That's right. Phil?
You can even take it a step further, if it's like a skill you're teaching them, then have them demonstrate the skill while you watch them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, did anybody not open up their email and see this, owning the source position at the awakening. Is this one of them that you put in the?
In some of them.
In some of them.
I stopped it because you told me to, so there's
Okay.
about 6 of them.
Okay, good.
Most everybody should have them.
Did anybody not get this?
I didn't open it.
I didn't know.
Okay, but it's in your email, so you might be one of the lucky ones who actually gets an extra one in their thing. Okay, did anybody not get this, assistant training packet? It has guidelines for your value, the game of service, conditions of workability, awakening revisions, the clearing process, which will be really important to those of you who are doing well-being, and dress codes.
So if anybody didn't get to open their email yet, check and see now if you can open it right now. Just to make sure you actually have all of that. Oh, we're not doing that?
Nikki, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, Nikki's got a question.
If there's some that we're not fully clear on, and we aren't ready to sign it yet, what do you want us to do?
Get clear on it? Is there one that you have an issue with?
Not an issue, but I haven't completed it.
Okay. Do you wanna tell us what it is?
I've set my own personal goals and intentions for this weekend.
Okay. That's one you haven't done yet? Okay. Do you agree to do that? Okay.
Great.
Then you can sign.
You are so adorable. I love you so much.
And
I just love you.
Nikki, can you say by when you
Yeah,
hope to
that's
do it?
what I was about to say. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Nikki, I want you to understand that the reason why you even said all that
Because of your integrity.
is because of your integrity.
Yeah, that's why you're so freaking.
Because you have so much
Oh,
integrity.
did you see that light? Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking to me today.
I really want you to let
You're
that
so
out.
awesome.
You have a lot of integrity. That's who you are.
One of your strengths, girl.
Okay.
So can you say by when?
I know next week, I don't know the day.
Okay. Can you do it by Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
When you say yes, will you look and see from a deeper place, not just your mind? Like looking at what all is on your calendar and agenda.
Did you all see that Lori listened for certainty?
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's saying that.
Yep. I got that.
And she's using the green light checklist right now.
And just so you know, I used to have a lot of cleanup conversations because I didn't do that part.
Yeah, Wednesday works.
And it's in
Okay.
the source, it's
Okay.
in the.
Thank you.
So if we can all do that to support each other, we will save each other a lot of headaches. It's very important.
That's this stuff, right? The vision and what our dream depends on and all that. Okay.
Do you want to talk about the, suggestion box, the?
Oh, yeah. If y'all have any, suggestions, any, issues with your contracts, any issues with agreements that you've made with RISE, we're gonna put a box,
We're gonna figure out something.
we're gonna figure something out, but it's gonna be a form that you can fill out, and when the board meets, we'll go through that. And so then we'll get back with you.
And along those lines, I would really appreciate it if you could all not talk to me about money issues. I want to make an agreement with the board that always goes to somebody else, so that that's not one of the things I have to carry.
To support Gary, to support Rise, and to support you.
Take the pressure off the facilitator, woohoo!
You need this moving forward forever or just for the awakening?
Forever.
No, for a while, until we can get a better structure in place.
Yeah. We're in the process of transition and we're
Yes.
supporting.
Okay, if you read the part that says owning a source position at the awakening, if you read it from your email, I'd like to hear from anybody about what you got from reading the part called How to Source a Project. Did anybody open up this packet and get something out of it? Okay, tell me what you got out of that part. Okay, Zen?
I got that you're training me for like my world vision and my world dream, and that this is just priceless.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And also how to be a much better leader of my family.
Great, good.
I wanted to add also, so all of the information that y'all have gotten so far, all of the packets, all of the guidelines, those are more than just agreements for right now. Those are to help you. Those are all things, tools for you to use going forward. So those are things that you can implement in your life going forward.
I call them lifelong skills. They're not temporary, they're lifelong skills of leverage. Good. Okay. Whoever opened up their packet, I'd like to hear what you got from how to assign a task and ensure results. What did you get out of how to assign a task and ensure results? Okay, Phil?
I really like the part about assigning a deadline and agreeing on a follow-up date and time.
Yep. What Lori just did with Nikki.
Accountability.
That's right. Way to go.
Because I often get people to agree to something, but then I don't give them a date. So
Yeah.
I'll go to them and say, is it not done yet? And they're like, well, you never.
Yeah, yeah. Good job. Acknowledge. Did anybody look at listening for certainty or speaking from certainty? If you did, I'd like to hear what you got from those two things. Okay, Elisa?
What I get is that I'm responsible for the communication, and that when I don't listen for certainty and things go wrong, then that's on me.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? So when you say that's on me, that almost sounds like you're saying that's my fault. And I don't want you to think it's a fault. Okay? It's a responsibility, right? Like it's your creation, right? And that's purely what it is. So when you own that, then you can change that.
So maybe like, as opposed to it's my fault and self-beat up, I could see it as empowering and.
Right. It's my creation.
It opens up opportunities to increase my personal power and create better results.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, the true definition of responsibility is simply the ability, I'm owning the ability to respond. It's like saying, I'm in charge. Okay. Okay, you ready to hand them out? Okay, Michelle put a lot of work into this, her and Alice, so let's acknowledge Michelle.
So when you get home, just throw them underneath your bed and.
And I'll be asking you for them.
Under your pillow.
Yeah.
Where are the ones that I just signed up? Too many papers everywhere. There it is. All right.
Ooh, it's all heavy.
Hey Zen, I just wanted to check in with you. I don't know if Jesse got a chance to call you yet. How are you doing with the cameras and all of that?
I think I got it worked out. I'm sure I will have it worked out if it's not yet.
And Jesse should be touching base with all of y'all at some point in the next couple of days, to make sure that.
If it's about that, you can put that in the text. It would help me know the urgency, just FYI.
She did text me that we wanted to talk, but I didn't know what it was about. So.
So you weren't gonna call her back because you.
No, we just arranged a different time to talk, but now I would have known it was more of an urgency. It's how I prioritize.
So that they can come
Do
and
we,
find them. Source people
Do we have our specific role
There
descriptions
is
in
a
here?
filing cabinet.
I don't know if it is or not. Let me ask
Because
Michelle.
that's
I'm not sure which. So you're gonna be more backup
No,
than anything
because
else?
Alice told me to put them in the filing cabinet.
What is yours
We
say
don't want
right there?
anybody
Oh, I
to
got it,
see.
I got it, thank you.
It has to be like, okay.
I don't know what that
Thank
means.
you.
First night facilitator, you're potentially going to be.
So far, so good.
Alice
When you're
also
done
said
handing those
that
out,
I-
why don't you go tell the people in the boardroom that if they
Her
want
assistant
to,
and
they can come
producer
back.
assistant.
Okay. I'm done.
Is that
I'm telling
something
you,
separate?
you're going to be one of the most important ones that we have in there. We're counting on you. Does that make you
And
feel good?
The most important thing to remember is,
I'm not a-
Don't screw up.
make a mistake.
Hey, Zen, so I saw an opportunity to coach you. Can I coach you?
Sure.
Okay, so in what you just said, when I get a text and that's how I prioritize, do you see an opportunity there to potentially prioritize differently so that you can make that work better?
Potentially, and I'll let that sit, but it's a new thing that I'm doing, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whereas before, I would just answer everything all the time, so.
Yeah.
I told him
Or
that-
maybe say, hey, how important is this?
Right.
Like the green light checklist, like, hey, if you need it now, it's a no. Let me get back with you, I might be able to give you a yes. Right.
I told the participants they could come back in the room now.
Okay. So you want me to leave?
No.
Another question. Gary, this video was on for all the people. We didn't divide the video. So,
Who all's on there?
well, everybody's gonna watch it.
No,
The people that are in that room.
No, they're not.
no.
We should have them pause it at this point, when they watch the video, like.
Why are
Well-
they gonna
Why
watch
are
the
they gonna
video?
watch the video? The
They're here.
videos-
The only people who should be watching it is Jesse.
Well, Ally and Devin.
No,
And,
No?
no. We don't want Ally or Devin watching it.
Okay, all right. I did tell them both to watch it tonight.
Well, unless somebody can edit it, then we don't want them watching it.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Did y'all have any questions? Concerns? Considerations?
Oh, I do have a question. Yay.
Mhm.
So, their music. I was talking to Mary and she said that you guys were allowing them to put it on.
Oh, yeah. So I'll say that when they come back in here. We're gonna do MP3 players, so,
Welcome to the 21st century.
So,
See, how's that for holding an attention? Boom!
you can bring your music on a thumb drive. You're still gonna need the description, so the song number, the title of the song, and the description of what the music is, right? But you won't have to have 3 jump drives with the copy on it 3 times.
You wanna say this for when they're
Yeah,
in the room?
yeah.
Didn't say that
you
all
still
over.
have the 8-track player available, right?
Yeah.
Well, I kept trying to talk them into the cassettes or the 8-track players, but they wouldn't listen to me.
What about vinyl?
I was just,
Right?
that was my next question. I'm like, let's just go vinyl.
You know, a lot of music impresarios absolutely stick with vinyl because they think it gets a better sound.
It does. Yeah.
And skips a lot less.
Well, it's the only way you can get the hissing and the crackling of the popping.
Right.
You just don't wanna leave it around your 3-year-old, you know?
True.
Although there's a guy that played records backwards and they learned to speak that way and sing that way.
Do you remember the Beatles? Oh, you guys are too young to do
Number
the
9?
Beatles scare. The Beatles had a scare where on one of their albums they put, if you play it backwards, I, Barry, Paul, right? And then a radio DJ started putting all these things together, like the cover of Sgt. Pepper's had a phone number and a guy's head was above Paul, and they said, you know, Paul's dead.
Paul's dead.
And the Beatles have been hiding it up, and it was like international news all over the world. And finally, after like a week or something, Paul came on and said, reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
What's funny is he's the only one still alive.
Yeah. Isn't Ringo still alive?
No, he died.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
thought he died. Didn't he die?
I think so.
Yeah.
So we turn these in?
Huh?
Are we turning these in?
Yeah. You can give him a shot.
Thank you.
Siri's the new modern version of.
Michelle, are they
Asking
coming
Siri.
back anytime soon? They're having too much fun with
They
it?
said about 10 minutes is what they said. And I said, when you're ready,
She must.
come and.
Are you done dinner
So
tonight?
they
Huh?
requested.
You done dinner
They
tonight?
start the
Yeah,
same
where
way.
wanna go?
Yeah.
I got 2
Good.
pages.
So
I'm
MP3.
sure something screwed up, but we have.
They will say phase 1.
Me and Lori love their
Is it phase 1,
food.
phase 2,
She
phase
gets
1?
bacon on
Okay,
it.
there's another one, and it's
I get
just
nacho.
Saturday, which is the follow-up.
Ennis is gonna join us.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
Okay.
So,
Then it's
excellent.
Okay, that could be.
Popular boy, Zen has a question.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
while we have time, can you please clarify the music one more time, because it will help me a lot.
bring 3 songs that you've narrowed down from 100 songs
Yep.
on a jump drive, thumb drive, whatever you want to call it, a USB stick. Does that work for you? Make sure that it is accompanied by 2 copies of a piece of paper that has the number of the song, 1, 2, or 3, the title of the song, the description of what it invokes in you, what it means to you.
That form is in the
Yeah,
pre-post
yeah,
packet.
yeah.
What's that mean?
I just want to make sure they're bringing that form as well.
Right.
And I might, I kind of want to say email it as well. Email it to me as well. That way I can potentially set up the MP3 players earlier than later. But I don't want to make that a,
Okay, I'll get you one.
I don't know if I want to do that, because then if I have sporadics,
Bonnie Roberts?
and it's like, okay, now I don't know who I have and who I don't have.
Yes, please.
So, just the thumb drive's fine.
Okay. And then bring that Friday.
First day.
So phase 1 is a place that has 2 different cabins, right, where we shuttle between. Are all the parking restrictions printed out somewhere?
I think there's only 2 cars allowed at Silver Lake.
2 what?
Cars?
No, there's 6.
6 cars allowed.
But they have to be specially assigned, like you, me, and Alice, you know. Everybody's gonna park across the street,
Yeah.
parking lot.
So Bear Trap,
If
people
you're,
coming to dinner?
if you're helping with,
Ask him.
the setup and stuff, then we'll probably have you park at Bear Trap. What was your question?
People coming to dinner, are there restrictions for parking at Bear Trap?
Oh, on the road. Go park out on the road.
They do park on the road?
So you'll get me one of these?
Yeah, there's when you go up, you know how Bear Trap had that turn off to the left and then it went up? If you look, there's actually a little stairway. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's pretty steep, Bonnie, so you wanna make sure it's something that they know.
Is there any?
Yes.
So you can trust in my driving skills once again.
If your dad wants to drop him off and go down the parking lot.
I hate driving in the rain. You know what? It's probably because I hate driving in the rain, and you help me be calmer because you're so scared. But I have to not be scared.
But if I have an idea that they're coming, like potentially park, potentially.
Oh, no, I told her.
I just need, that's the thing, like, the moment that you know, hey, this person's coming, make sure I know.
We can even tell, I'm impressed.
Who is the assistant well-being person?
Assistant, well,
Assistant?
Jesse.
Jesse.
Who brought the
How
apricot?
how could I get this to her?
Just hold it up to the camera.
I could
Just
take a
stick it
picture
in
and
the
text it to
camera.
her. Did you hear
The
that?
reason I gave
What?
that page
I can
because
take
I
a
added
picture and
something
text
that's
it
very
to her.
important, and the other job description that she's gonna get from Michelle doesn't have that sentence on it.
Do you have her number, Phil? You just text her a picture of it?
So good.
And I have this whole package.
Hey, Kendra, thank you.
I have a whole package.
Okay, before I let everybody go, are there any questions?
That's early. That's really
So
early.
the people that, the people that just came in,
About music.
yeah, that's what I was doing. The people that just came in, I was gonna make an announcement to y'all about music. In your packet, it says 3 CDs. We're gonna put them on MP3 players, so bring a thumb drive, a jump drive, USB drive, whatever you wanna call it. With your 3 songs on it, make sure that on your description, it has 1, 2, and 3, the name of the song and what it invokes in you.
Which is in your pre-course packet, that
Right.
form.
Right.
On a separate piece of
Two
paper.
questions. First, so we don't have to put the song 3 times.
Correct.
Second.
We don't have to
Is
have 3
there
separate
any
thumb
way?
drives.
And you don't need 3 separate thumb drives.
Okay. Is there any way to tell us what the songs are for, or is it?
Your
It's for your breakthrough.
They are your breakthrough.
I know,
So
but 'cause
you
I have
wanna,
so many
no,
songs
you
that
wanna,
it's
you
like-
wanna find 100 songs and then you wanna start narrowing it down.
30 to 50.
I've already narrowed down to
Top
three.
Your fifth, you cannot, you get it wrong if you just try to think of three. You got to make a long list.
Right.
I say 30 to 50 minimum.
Right.
And then cross them off, because that takes you through a different process. You end up with 3 different songs, okay?
Even if there's one that like from the beginning, I'm like, that's it.
Well,
Like,
go
that's
through
It's
the.
your process.
Go through the process and see if it ends up being the same, okay? And I want to tell you that it's not just used in your breakthrough, it's used at any other moments in time when there's a profound experience. And so you don't need to consciously think about, will that fit for, you know,
It just
Right.
if
Well,
it
I guess-
makes your heart sing, you're
Yeah.
gonna find out that it has more meaning than you consciously know, or anybody consciously knows, until you have a profound experience. Then the song will take on a whole new meaning.
It's
There's
kinda
just
like
so
trying
many songs.
to say, oh, this is what my breakthrough's gonna be about. You have no
So
idea.
one
Listen to
disc
all my
drive,
music.
3 songs, that's it.
Like,
Easy.
cause I'm thinking if it's like rage, F you, I won't do what you tell me, that might not be super
It can be.
appropriate.
It is for you. It can be. It can be.
No,
It can be
no, no,
perfect
no.
for you.
I'm way more hippie than that.
But if
What
it's
if it has
Mary,
like
do you have a
little
question?
words in it?
at the
She
same
asked- or
time,
she
you
asked
feel
it.
in your body which one resonates.
Yeah.
Your spirit actually hears, tells
The-
you which song for
Well, my
this.
spirit already knows the number one. Like,
Yeah.
there's one song that without a doubt.
The other thing that we covered that's relevant to y'all is if you have any problems.
Hold on a second, they're not listening. Go ahead.
If you have any problems, questions, concerns regarding any agreements that you made with the company, we're gonna set up a box that you can fill out a form, and the board will review that and get back with you on it.
And then Gary, do you wanna repeat your
Oh, yeah.
question?
I would like everybody to spread the word that if you have any questions about money, please do not come to me with them. We're gonna go right through the board. So for a while, until we get our new structure in place, do not have money conversations with me. Thank you.
Do you have a question, Shelley?
No,
Okay.
no, it's just that you said if you have any concerns about anything, put them on a
Reg-
piece of paper
Regarding the company,
regarding the company.
agreements you made with the company, right?
With RISE, with your program, with any concerns you have at all.
The Pope, you know.
That relate to this work. I wanna go back to M's, issue. So here's the thing, we have rage music, okay?
Yeah.
So what you really want your music to represent is whatever makes your heart sing.
Right.
That's your criteria.
Whatever lights you
And that's why Gary says 100, make your list, maybe you have 1,000. And then you just keep looking at it and narrowing it down. But here's the cool thing about this process. The ones that really come through, they like shine like light. Like at some point, you're gonna go, oh, I get it, that's gotta be it.
Well, there's one that ever since the beginning, I'm like, I know that's it.
Yeah, there you go. But still
But
the
there's
process
enough,
for
the
the
third
sense
one,
of.
I'm like.
That was my
oh.
case, and it still checked out.
Yeah, yeah,
You
there
just
you
do
go.
the, it still works to do the
Right,
process.
oh, I know that
Yeah.
that's one of them,
Yeah.
there's no doubt, it's just, I just didn't know, cause it's like, there's some that are the more ragey, so it's like.
But we
I
do all of
want-
that, we have all of that already.
Okay.
So-
And I requested a rage song and they found it.
Yeah, that's right. If you want a specific rage song, we don't have it. We've got computers.
Listen, one time I was doing a breakthrough on somebody, and he's doing a role play on his breakthrough with his dad, you know. And at some point, he literally says, now, he didn't have his music. He signed up at the last moment. He had to go through the library and pick out some, so he picked out of our library, right? Kendra. And he says to his dad, who guy who's role playing his dad, I guess you wouldn't know unless I told you. And the music literally said, I guess you wouldn't know unless I told you. Then he says, I love you. And the song literally said, I love you. I mean, like an echo, right? And there are so many times when we put on someone's song for what the person is going through, and the whole room is like, listen to the song.
Because this is really big orchestration from spirit.
It has a lot of levels of meaning that you don't know consciously right now.
Well, like, there's this one song, and I love the inspirational quote, but it's only a small portion of the song, and so that's where I'm like,
You're in your
I'll
head.
Do the process, you'll do it.
Okay, you're good. You can't get
Okay,
it wrong.
everybody, Laurie and I and Anderson are gonna go out to Applebee's if anybody wants to join us. If you know you wanna join us, just raise your hand. Okay,
Oh, it's raining though.
have a great night.
The food will be dry.
We will see you
Zen?
soon.
You had something you wanted to discuss with me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Spotify.
Well, the thing is that it's really dancey, and so I love it, because it makes me wanna dance, but like the one portion is like, please let your heart out, and I can do that.
Jeff, are you good?
No, but I love the